Hello, everybody. Welcome to another odd episode of the Long Coat Mafia podcast. I am your main host and frontman for the show, the Reverend Godfather. With me today is the one, the only. Oh, I forgot. I was going to go with like a wrestling reference, but
the Greek Hammer,
the Greek Hammer himself, the impersonator of Wayne Bryant, but Big Candy. And once again, as always, Zombie Bunny is not here. She's off training some sort of kung fu this time around. Her legend will always live on and continue. But other than that, again, this is a weird episode because we'll be posting this on the...
Every episode is a weird episode.
Well, weirder than normal.
Not old school coast to coast weird, but weird in its own right.
More like Electric Eye weird.
Yeah.
Because we'll be posting this episode on June the 12th instead of the 5th.
Back to the future.
You're only born in the future. You only merely adapted it.
Oh.
I was born in it. Molded by it.
Why would you shoot a man if you got to throw him up the blade?
But the reason why is by the time you hear this, we would have had an interview with Nick Hunt. He is the director and I think producer as well of the movie Safe Space, and we hope that the interview and the episode went extremely well. His episode dropped by the time you hear this last week. We will probably have talked.
Stop speaking fourth dimension. Getting confused. I told you I only had 2 hours sleep last night. It's really,
no, I'll never.
This is fucking me up.
Do I need to have Deadpool to come in here to explain things to you?
No, please don't.
Then things will get even weirder, right?
Yeah, butt cheeks and bullet holes. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't need that. But either way, we hope the interview went extremely well. And it's going to be a Skype interview. From what things have been told to me, it might be not just him, but some of the cast as well. So,
oh, shit. Look at you.
And he's... even though this is kind of be posting after the fact, yet recorded before the fact, he kind of approached us and amongst other podcasters in reference to help promote the movie and so forth and so on. So, again, we hope... Bad Batch. As always, even though I keep forgetting to mention it, we do record nowadays in the Daily Grind in Martinsburg instead of the library. To get on to the topic, so this is going to be a little bit more of an educational type of episode as well as a geeky episode to get through the tougher, more geeky type of topics first to kind of mold in from the last hostful a little bit of wrestling news because we didn't really.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
Because we were starting on a roll last time around, and we had a pace, and all of a sudden we got screeched to a halt.
Yeah, because they didn't give us any warning. They're just like, all right, you're out. This time we took care of that, though.
Yeah. It's like over the past couple of weeks, the Hardy news has gotten weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder. And I've been hearing a lot of different. Because on both sides, the Impact Wrestling / TNA, depending on how you want to look at things, is saying we own the we own the copyrights, we own all the legalities over this. Mm-hmm. The Hardys, it's mostly Matt's wife that's been yelling back,
right.
Saying that no, the Hardy, we own it. The family owns, the trademarks, the story, everything, the whole gimmick and everything else. From what I was told, they came up with it from someone who might be a little bit more of a fan than you are. Right. Hopefully he'll be on the show to talk primarily about wrestling. But he said they've been doing the broken gimmick or had that idea since way before.
Well, yeah. I mean,
so,
the characters, see, the problem is Matt and Jeff developed these characters, more so Jeff. He has, like, in his repertoire, he has, like, I want to say, like, 6 or 7 different characters. He's got, like, Jeff Hardy, Brother Nero, Inchweed, What's the other one? What's the weird one? The one that's like the satanic one.
I'm not,
Oh, Will o' the Wisp. There's what else? He's got more than that. He's got a bunch of them. But like, he comes up with all these interesting characters and kind of bases them on like his surroundings and stuff. And like Inchweed is like he's like a dude that cuts grass, and like that's his background because like he cuts grass, and you know like where he's from. Like I don't know if you watched any of the Broken Hardy stuff when it was on TNA. Did you watch?
No.
Oh, well, you have to watch it sometime. It's like really good. But like when he actually did designs in his like lawn for that, and like it's like professional like art because you know Jeff's an artist, so a lot of that stuff comes from his different personas. And then Matt, he's probably been working on his character like for like a long time. Like he was doing kind of like a cocky character for a long time. Like he was the best and like you know better than you, Matt, and all that stuff. And like almost kind of like a Mr. Perfect angle kind of thing. And like then I don't know what inspired this character. I think he just wanted to try something different. But I mean, what TNA is doing is they're just chiming off the fact that it was successful.
yeah.
If it wouldn't have had the impact that it did, like I mean, you're talking about last year. It was like
The biggest thing.
well, because I mean, every publication that you saw was okay. Matt Hardy has turned the wrestling world on its ear because they were doing shit that was innovative and new. They were, not TNA. They were taping these things at their compound, at their homes, and turning the tapes over to TNA and going, okay, you want to play this? And they're like, okay. TNA had nothing to do with the development or the, you know, progression. They pretty much were just like, okay, you guys do this on your own and, you know, keep bringing us material and we'll keep putting it out there. And now they want to
Bank on it.
yeah, they want to stake a claim because it was popular.
And it might come down to the legalities of what was in their contracts at the
Right.
time.
I mean, if it's anything like WWE, a lot of times what WWE does is like, if you were a character that they developed in WWE, like you can't take that character with you.
Right. Like
If
Dawn
you developed it prior to coming to WWE, like you know, if you came in and you were like, I don't know, like Ric Flair, Nature Boy
Right.
Ric Flair, they did not come up with Nature Boy Ric Flair. He came up with that back when he was wrestling in the independents in the territories. So
That's why you saw when now, granted, folks, we're going old school. That's why you saw when he brought back the Four Horsemen in, I think, WCW.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to do that because I think he did it in WWE as
well,
well.
he did in WCW, which was kind of an offshoot. It was WCCW, with World Class Wrestling.
Yeah.
Which was an offshoot of NWA. It was, I think, owned by the same people. I'm not sure. Maybe your other source can provide better information on that. Mine's sketchy because I grew up at that time. So to me, I was watching them all like, I don't know, I don't give a shit. It was like AWA, NWA, WCW, World Class, all that stuff when I was growing up. So, no, he came up with that when he was wrestling in the NWA territories, like in World Class and all that. And that stuff, because all those guys were
Right.
employed in those territories, it was, you know, the Four Horsemen were the Four Horsemen.
And it's just one of those things, even though the WWE or F, depending on who's old school, who's new school, they've come out in recent weeks saying we're not interested. And from what I was told, or the theory that I was told, is that WWE they want the broken characters because they're popular,
Right.
but they're trying to not squash they want the fans to kind of cool the coals to cool a little bit.
Right.
So once they make sure everything's clear legally.
Well, what I
to
heard,
toss gas on in that sense, gas to bring it back.
what I heard, and I don't know if you heard this, he had applied for a trademark.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
Okay, and he got denied. The trademark got rejected.
I think it was because of wording and how you worded
something with the wording. But he also had neglected to ask for. It was because of. In other words, he was trying to trademark an intellectual property. But what he neglected to do was include the merchandising, which would have actually got it approved. Because that's the most important part, is the merchandising.
Right.
That's what WWE is. They could give a rat's ass. They could take Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy and go all the way with them for as long as they want, because people are going to watch Matt and Jeff Hardy. They like them already. If Broken comes back or not, that's not something that they have rights to. Brother Nero, actually, they don't have rights to either, because that's really Jeff's middle name. He's Jeff Nero Hardy, named after his uncle or something. I don't know. But it was something with the wording on the merchandising, and that's what they're really after. And if they can merchandise it, yeah, of course they're going to use it. But WWE, they're not. They're pretty much. I think they're leaving it in, Rebby and Matt's hands to take care of this right now, and they'll back them up, 100% in court. But I don't think that they're investing a whole lot into it.
I know one of the things that I've seen. This was before the whole trademark thing came out. Was that TNA/Impact was saying, "Hey, these are all our chat records. These are all our conversation. This and that." And, oh, by the way, the WWE is saying, we're not really interested in the broken gimmick, even though that they are.
Yeah,
and
they don't have
that's
to.
when, again, Matt's wife said, yeah, really, you're playing that game. We could get our lawyers to play that game, too. We got our own chat records, And from what I've been told, for the past couple of years, since maybe 5 years, I want to say 5 years at best, after TNA got started, when it was TNA, has been going pretty much downhill. And from what my buddy was telling me, that when you watch folks, this is primarily for the folks at home, when you watch Impact Wrestling, they're still using footage from when AJ Lee was in there and a few other
AJ Styles. AJ Lee was never there.
And what WWE can pull is wait a minute, we want the broken gimmick.
Right.
You're still using these images. They're part of us now.
Yeah.
That you release the broken image, will not come after you for infringement. So it's kind of one of those type of. They could work that angle too.
They're losing a lot of stars too to WWE. I mean, Samoa Joe was one of their biggest ones. AJ. He was probably the top star in TNA. Him coming over to WWE, that was something I never thought I'd see. Because for the longest time there was speculation, but then they're like, oh, well, he's at the end of his career. He's he's not going to come over and wrestle for 10 years and then retire. There's no way. He'll stay with the independents forever. He'll go to New Japan. And I kept hearing that over and over and over and over and over, that he was never going to come over. Well, surprise.
To me, this is a reminiscent of the last days of WCW, where a lot the WWE, not WWE, when the WWE, I'm doing it again, when the WCW was starting to financially go downhill due to Hogan's influence, and in essence the inmates running the business, so to speak. A lot of the best wrestlers were going to the WWE. Yeah, and now it's they lost
Bubba Ray Dudley. They lost Sting in the last 2 years. Yeah. They lost, they lost a lot of their top stars. Kevin Nash, they even lost a lot of guys to Ring of Honor. So, they're really bottom of the barrel right now. Nobody likes the new management. Everybody seemed to like Billy Corgan when he was kind of running things, but I think he tried to buy them at one point, and then it didn't go through for whatever reason. But people were really I think Jeff even said, I think I heard on an interview, he even said that if Billy Corgan was still running the show or going to run the show, that he would have stayed because he likes his creativity, which is really cool. But as far as I think I think management at TNA at some point had given up because they kept saying like they were for sale. And they kept saying like, oh, well, you know, we're thinking about selling the company, blah, blah, blah. And it was in and out, and the contracts were weird, and like nobody was getting paid or something, I heard. And
I think I heard that a few years ago too.
Right, and then what I think they were expecting, WWE to walk in and say, "Oh, we're going to buy you out," like they did WCW. But I don't think. I think the WWE probably was like, you know what, we could take all your stars without taking your company easily.
We're cheaper.
Yeah,
and
because
I'm not disrespecting the WWE at all. Just that,
yeah,
and.
Because why buy all that dead weight? Because, I mean, there's a lot of guys that are in there that are exactly that. They're dead weight. But, I mean, they did have guys like, you know, like Bobby Roode. I mean, he's now the champion in NXT. And soon he will make his way up the roster and be like, trust me, they'll put a belt on him as soon as he gets up in the main roster.
Yeah, that's one of the things that, because my buddy at where I work, he has been, from what he's told me, he has been trained as a professional wrestler. Mm-hmm. That's why I want him on the show. And he says he has friends in the WWE circuit, and he knew about Bray Wyatt's title run and him losing it months before it actually happened. So that's why I want him on to talk about wrestling and have a whole kind of wrestling. I'll probably preempt it with either before or after our, I think I might have done it, our Electric Eye episode that we had, that we did about wrestling.
There's a lot of wrestling in the Panhandle here.
But the thing,
a lot.
And since we've been talking about the WWE, I didn't put it in the show notes, but I've been hearing that Raw has been tanking.
Yeah, it's
ratings, and they've been doing that for a while.
Yeah,
which is
SmackDown is just a better show.
Raw's been dying for years.
Well, it's the writers. It's
one of the reasons why I stopped. I liked Raw, and I stopped watching it because out of even when it was at 2 hours, it was like an hour and a half of blah blah blah, and the remaining it was weak ass matches.
Oh yeah.
And now it's an hour and a half to 2 hours of blah, blah, blah. I'm the better wrestler. And just an hour of maybe weak wrestling.
And I don't know why they're pushing real hard for SmackDown, which is cool. But it's like a lot of their best talent is on SmackDown. Like, you know, AJ's on, he's on there. Charlotte, she's on there. Who I think she's the best female wrestler out there right now. Besides the girls in NXT, like Asuka and what's that? Ruby, what's her name? And then I can't remember the other girl, the crazy lady. Anyway, I can't remember her name because I don't watch it enough. They're good, but I mean, you got Becky Lynch and Charlotte are over on the same. You know, they're two of the biggest pulls. Sasha Banks, she's kind of gone downhill because she won't go after the title, or she keeps getting hurt, and she won't go after what's her face, Bailey, because they're best friends. Why would you do
that? The storyline, or
I mean, in real life, they're friends.
A lot of people in WWE are friends.
Yeah, but why they play up this angle where they're like? I mean, eventually, I think they'll do a betrayal, like, storyline or something. Like right now, I think they're doing one with Enzo and Cass, which is gonna I think it's gonna hurt the WWE more than it's gonna help. But I mean, I don't know how long they could continue as a tag team anyway.
Then again, that's what I've been hearing in reference to WWE as a whole, is that they have a lot of this great talent, but some of the better talent or decent talent that they have, they're not using.
Right.
And
Enzo is great on the mic, but he's a terrible wrestler. Like, he could maybe hold his own in the cruiserweights, but that's maybe about it. But then you got Cass. He's like WWE's wet dream. He's fucking 7 feet tall. He's huge. And he's shit on the mic. I mean, he's okay, but he's just a huge dude, and that's what they like. They like huge dudes. And yeah, they're gonna he's gonna do the whole betrayal angle. He's gonna go off on his own. But SmackDown, I mean, like, look at what they did with Jinder Mahal. They just put the belt on Jinder Mahal. I mean, really? Jinder Mahal? I mean, but I'm super proud of the dude, though. Because, first of all, he's the first, like, person of Indian, not, Indian, like, India descent to carry the title. He's also come a long way since his days with, like, what was it, 3MB or whatever? It was stupid. It was like the rock band thing that he did with...
I'm familiar with it.
Heath Slater and all that dumb shit. He started like a workout program. That dude is stacked. He's like...
Are we talking workout as in natural, or workout is, hi, here's a needle?
Oh, no, he's all natural.
Natural?
Yeah. 100%. Like, WWE, they don't fuck with that shit anymore. Like, honestly. I think people get suspended all the time for that stuff.
Amongst other things, too.
Yeah, but, I mean, this dude really worked his ass off to get where he is with that. And a lot of people are trying to say steroids, but nah, that dude, he worked his ass off to get that big. And I'm super proud of the guy, for getting there. And it's a good look for WWE. I mean, you're not crowning the same people champion all the time. The belt's not revolving around the same 4 people. It's like you get new blood in there, and it looks real good on the company.
I think what turns off people, again, is that you might have a new person getting the belt, and all of a sudden, the next pay-per-view, Randy Orton is your new champion. Or is, Cena, granted, he might not be with the company too much longer, but Cena's the new champion.
Yeah, no.
Like, really, people, that's when you get the fans who've been fans for years go, you know what, I don't want to watch him anymore.
Yeah, because it gets boring. It's like you get to see Cena run his fucking mouth. Yeah, he's got charisma, but who cares?
Right.
But I mean, the one thing I like that they're doing, like with the Kevin Owens character, if you're familiar with him at all.
A little bit. Here's our next.
Yeah.
A little bit of our next topic.
I like the real heat that he's giving, like in public. I mean, the dude's like the nicest dude in the world. Like, I think if like you met him and he wasn't in character, like I'm pretty sure he'd be like one of the best dudes in the world to talk to. But what he's doing is smart. He's getting heat outside the ring as well as inside the ring to build up that character to really make the fans hate him so that he's more popular. Like throwing kids' autograph books on the ground.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
And everybody's, what a dick. Yeah, what a dick. I love it.
The thing is, what a lot of fans, people don't know about the WWE is, I think it's part of that contract that if they turn heel, which is the wrestling term for bad guy, right. They have to be heel. They have to be the bad guy. They have to be the dick. For the most part. No,
it's a lot of it's fan reaction now. Like, take for instance, like, okay.
I know, the reason why I said it is because that's what kind of was a few years ago. Meaning that...
Well, look at AJ Styles. AJ Styles, he can't get over as a heel. He can't. He comes in there, he runs his mouth, and he says, you people, and all this stuff, and they cheer for him anyway. Because he's that good. People like watching him wrestle. So now he's a face. He was forced into being a face. Because of the audience.
And for the folks at home who don't know, a face is referred to baby face, right. Or AKA the good guy.
So Kevin Owens, same situation. No matter what he did, no matter who he double crossed, no matter like what happened, people were like, "Yeah, Kevin Owens." So what he's doing right now, I love it. He's doubling down on being a heel. He's doing things to make himself look horrible. And to go over as the bad guy.
Didn't Randy Orton kind of do that at one point? Because
Randy Orton did it a different way.
Because he said in different times that even though he comes off as the nicest guy, right. He said, I just love playing the heel.
He does. What he would do, he would mess with the audience. So where... If they were cheering him and like, oh, Randy, whatever, and he wants to be the heel, he'd start wrestling slow and really just dragging matches out and
being a dick.
Just being a dick. And he was one of those guys that if you wrestled him and he doesn't like what you're doing in the ring or you're a little stiff, he'll be stiff back. And so there's some guys that don't like him in the wrestling business just because how stiff he is. To them. Because they're not being very good to him. They don't take care of him in the ring he takes care of them. So, yeah, he'll just wrestle slow and drag matches out and really piss people off that way.
And to kind of move away from wrestling a little bit.
We were turning into a wrestling podcast.
I
did want to say one more thing.
Go ahead.
Speaking of wrestling, was it 2 weeks ago now? 2 weeks ago, yeah. No, a week ago. I don't know. Saw Chris Jericho in concert.
And how was it?
It was really good. His band Fozzy came through Winchester, and they played the Blue Fox. It was sold out. He even did his list thing on Instagram. If you check out his Instagram on that day, I think was it the 15th? No, the 21st. He did. It was sold out show, so they were giving out 2 tickets to somebody if they found them. So he was going to hide them around. He said, "If you find these tickets, you'll make the list." And he did that, and I think they did a VIP show early in the day where a handful of people came out and they played just for them and did covers and stuff, 5 songs or something like that. But it was crowded in there. There's a lot of people. And the cool thing about Fozzy, and I don't know that they do this every night, but for us, in that particularly small space, it was a small club. It's a nice club, but it's a small club. They played like they were playing at Wembley Stadium. They played like they were playing for a sold-out Wrigley Field. They played their asses off, and they didn't have to do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
He could have just stood there on the mic and sung the songs and did the thing, shuffled out, and said, fuck it. But, he really got the crowd into it, and he jumped and danced around and, wore the fucking light-up jacket and shit like he does. Oh, it was crazy. And, a lot of people, dig the new song, that one Judas that came out. I don't know if you heard it.
No.
It's good.
The thing is, I know you're the big music guy.
Right.
Just that I know when you have bands like Chris Jericho, they might play a lot of larger venues,
mm-hmm.
and they tend to play the smaller ones to test out new stuff.
Yeah, every place that he was playing, I noticed we've got one of the big flyers.
Right.
Giving those out. Every place that they were playing on the tour was like bars. Small bars up in Pennsylvania.
Maybe you wanted to change it up,
He always plays small bars. He's he hadn't come through here before, but he's played, I want to say Hagerstown. Not too far from here. And they played a small bar there before. I don't think that they've made the jump as of yet. But the good news with them is the new song Judas, if you can play it later on. It's actually really good. Within its first week got 1 million hits. I think on its second week it's got 3 million. I was talking to their merch girl when we were there, and it just got 3 million hits that day or that that couple of days that they were here. And now it's almost up to 4 million hits, which is good, for a kind of indie metal rock band or whatever. But it people are saying that the new material is leaps and bounds past the old stuff. And the night that we were there was actually NXT TakeOver Chicago, and Judas was the featured song for that event. WWE sponsors the music for whatever. Well, that was actually the sponsored music for that. So while we were watching him, or right before they went on stage, we were all in the audience, me and a whole bunch, because there's a lot of marks out there, that, Jericho marks and wrestling marks. We were all out there watching fucking NXT TakeOver Chicago on our phones. It was pretty funny. But yeah, he did a real good job, and I tweeted out that I thought that was probably one of the best. I don't know, it's the top 5 best shows I've ever been to.
That's
and
always
some of the
nice
I've
to
been
hear.
to a lot of shows. Last wrestling, sorry.
Again, to kind of move on a little bit, before we get into our education, a little bit of our educational part of the show. One of the things you might have heard in my last solo episode, which was a few weeks ago, I talked about some of the series.
And yesterday? I'm
Yes.
so confused. Anyway, go ahead.
One of the things I forgot to bring up, I'll bring it up here, is that I don't know how far along in this past season of Flash you are.
I'm not at all.
So you're not familiar with the Gypsy character.
When they stopped showing it on Hulu the day after it came out,
yeah,
it's now on Netflix.
Right.
I don't know if the season's actually on Netflix yet.
It will probably be on within the next day or two.
Yeah, so it's either the Hulu, it either needs to drop to Hulu or Netflix.
It'll drop probably by the end of the month.
Right. I need to catch up on a lot of that stuff. Like,
I know the current season just dropped on Netflix. Current season of this past season of Supernatural just dropped on Netflix, so it'll
right.
Be,
I'm not. I'm not. I'm nowhere near caught up on that.
And
I have no. The truth is, in the last 2 weeks, I have not watched probably 10 minutes of television. I've been busy, just trying to stay afloat.
The past, I think it was late season 2, if not early season 3, they kind of introduced this character by the name of Gypsy.
Mm-hmm.
She's kind of like the female. She's from her Earth, mm-hmm. because last season they did the whole different Earths mm-hmm. type of ordeal. They brought in this character, Gypsy, which is, for the most part, like Cisco.
Okay.
She tends to vibe
right.
different things. She's able to vibe between different Earths. And what I haven't heard is a theory about her.
Right.
And because as you've probably seen in a little bit of season in this season, or will see, Cisco has a crush on her.
Right.
And he's been trying to put the moves on Gypsy. And I'm like, wait a minute, I've been watching a lot of Flash stuff, about this past season. And what's not coming up is a Gypsy theory. A fan theory in reference to that particular character. And I figured I might as well do it now before the next season of Flash hits. Is that, what if, because you have all these, all right, in Earth 2 there's this counterpart from Earth 1 and so forth and so on. What if Gypsy is the female Cisco?
That's what I was thinking when you were saying it.
Because
he's essentially trying to hit her himself.
Because she's turned him down several times when he's tried to, make the moves and go on a date. And she said, I'm not really spoiling it, but she has stated that she vibes on the same frequency as he does.
Oh, yeah, I see, there it is.
And they didn't really say anything, but she kind of rescues, him. Right. It's like, he said, did you know to rescue me? It's like, well, I vibe on the same frequency you do. And they're about the same power level. I'm like, wait a minute, no one's saying that she's the female equivalent of Cisco?
Yeah.
Why isn't nobody covering this? They dropped because from a lot of people, fans of the Flash, have said every season they build up one character arc a little bit and tend to drop it.
Right.
What if this is one of those character arcs that they were building up and they just dropped?
Yeah.
Because it's one of those, wait a minute, you have all these counterparts, but you don't have that one sliders type of ordeal where there's that female counterpart.
Right.
You have a male counterpart. Why not have a female counterpart? Well, here's Gypsy.
There it is.
And she seems to be of the same ethnic origin as Cisco.
Oh.
I'm not saying that I'm not saying it in a bad way.
It gets sketchier and sketchier.
I'm like, it's not like, well, she's African American and he's Caucasian, but that's roughly the same. The only difference is she's a she and he's a he. So why not next season? Is there a Cisco in your universe? No. and it comes out or leads to that, it would be funny that way. Later on next year, we go, we called it.
We got it. Woo!
Hey, Zombie Bunny called the aspect of Ronda Rousey losing last.
That is
year.
true. That is
so.
true. Do you have any other crackpot fan theories? Because guess what?
What?
So last night, I was listening to probably one of the most out there crackpot fan theories I've ever heard in my life.
What? Go ahead.
I'd like to give credit where credit's due, but I can't remember what it's somebody that does this all the time. You can look it up probably. Okay, so at the Deadpool trailer, you see all the little Easter eggs throughout the,
right.
Throughout the Deadpool trailer, all the different little things in there. And at the end, there's kind of a crawl of a lot of words. People are,
Was it film theory?
Probably was.
Film theory.
And the guy was like, I actually took the time to read it. And it was Ernest Hemingway's Old Man in the Sea. Probably, kind of like a synopsis.
Right.
Dude comes to the conclusion that Deadpool is Ernest Hemingway.
and
I was like, you're dumb, but bear with me. So I'm like,
he said it was like,
I'm like, okay, no, I think what they're trying to say is like him fighting the sharks off the big catch is like Deadpool was like the big catch, and like a lot of people are trying to latch onto that success and like bite off of it, and I think that's what they're going for. But oh no, he went a step further and like read into all this shit. Now, did you listen to it too?
Yeah.
So fucking come to find out that one, Ernest Hemingway is goddamn nearly indestructible. Wolverine has like a tie to him in some way because he hung out with him back in the day.
It's in comic theory.
He had a brother
that
created an island, somewhat like fucking Cable did in the comics. I'm like, holy shit, this guy went deep. Like, he went fucking deep. And like, at the end, I'm convinced. I'm like, okay, I think.
Like, even he said.
Oh no! In the thing about somebody stealing his identity, and it wasn't really Wade Wilson. It was somebody that stole his identity.
Right.
I was just like, okay, I'm convinced.
And the thing is, he said even this theory is kind of weak.
Yeah, but there's some pretty strong evidence out there. I'll go as far as to say he might be onto something.
And the thing is, when you watch it, us being old Coast to Coast fans,
right?
It's one of those.
Oh, it was stirring the pot.
It was the old school Coast to Coast type of ordeal where there is no way.
Yeah.
There was no way that this is humanly possible. Yet you're like, wow, there's actually probably something to this here.
Dude, I was in my kitchen saying, "Fuck you." That's not what it's about. I'm not. This is bullshit. I'm calling bullshit. I'm talking about this tomorrow. And then as it went on, I was like, oh my God, he's right. Ernest Hemingway's a bad motherfucker. Oh, and that boxer, he said that boxer, the champion of the world at the time.
Didn't want to fight him.
He said he would fight anybody, but he refused to fight crazy-ass Ernest Hemingway. What? I said, Ernest Hemingway, you got a fan.
Hate your work, but you've got a fan.
Yeah, I was shocked. Was like I don't even know what I was shocked. Yeah, I was flummoxed.
MatPat is a fun watch when you
because
you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, it just randomly popped up too. Because I sometimes I watch like geeky stuff. A lot of times lately, I've been watching a lot of like gamers. I don't know why, but all of a sudden I've started watching a lot of gamer shit. And like I follow like what's this girl that plays a lot now. She's a One Shot Girl. I don't know if you ever watch her. She's a good watch because she's kind of wholesome. I can watch it with the kid. She doesn't cuss or anything, but she plays a lot of like the hot games. So she plays like Battleground, and she'll do Hello Neighbor. And actually last week she did the early release on Friday the 13th.
I've been, because a lot of the stuff that I used to watch, like back when the show was starting and last year, is kind of dying off a little bit.
Yeah, because all the monetization is gone. But
both sides are kind of.
The YouTube gamers are doing really well though, because of the features on YouTube with their gamers that
they're getting
they get
endorsements from.
Well, they get subscribers, which are like with the One Shot Girl. I think hers are $4 a month, and she gets she's got
with the Patreon and all that.
Oh no, this is not Patreon. This is through their
Twitch?
It's no
Super Chat.
No, I don't know if it's through Super Chat, but it's through YouTube. So she's got subscribers, and she's got people that donate.
With that, for folks at home, YouTube, we're not at that point. We're nowhere close to that point.
But she's in YouTube gaming. I don't know.
YouTube has two different things. They're starting to do. Amazon is, I think, the one that does their Twitch and all that. But I think YouTube is starting to do their YouTube gaming a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm not exactly sure.
She's
how
only
that
been on there
works.
for like a year, is what she said, because they haven't been out that long. But to me, it sounds pretty good if it keeps up, because their streaming is kind of weak. Like it buffers a lot.
Yeah, I've been trying. I don't know if I have for folks at home. When I try to do YouTube Live,
it's hard.
It's not hard. I've got the software. Thanks to Sasha, she kind of helped me,
cool.
with a little bit of what software she uses and how easy it could be. It is easy. I could set it up. I could do it, but I don't know if it's my internet being such a fuck fest.
Well, it's Frontier?
Yeah, severe. As I stated before,
Verizon's not much better, so
it's like I've seen faster speeds given to me by Amish. The Amish have better internet speeds than I do.
Hezekiah, point and laugh. He's got slow internet.
Ezekiel, look at that man over there. He has slow internet. He has Frontier.
You're using Frontier. What's wrong with you?
So it's kind of hard to say.
Let me pin my jacket back together.
Anyway. So it's kind of hard to say if it's Frontier being so slow on the ups. Up.
I just thought we can make fun of the Amish on here. They're not going to listen to this.
What are you going to do? Forgive us?
What are you going to do? Listen to a podcast? Anyway, sorry.
It's not they're going to do anything bad to us.
No.
Just come up and just go to look at us mad.
But
with their long beards and just look at us with disapproval and just I'll just grow out my mustache and just twirl
the ends. But no, from what I heard, she does well though. Like she's actually, it's her job now, is being a gamer, and the donation. Like she just went over 200,000 subscribers.
The thing is, if she does a live thing with Gaming Live, she can turn on Super Chat, and it's just the people could just donate.
But that's what I'm saying. But it doesn't look like Super Chat when the donations are coming through. I don't know what she's.
They could set it up so it looks kind of like Twitch a little bit,
because it just pops up on the screen.
It could pop up.
Okay,
on the screen,
it's probably Super Chat then.
So because Twitch does the same thing. Yeah. When somebody donates, it pops on the screen.
Because there's two options: just donate and subscribe. Donate and sponsor. Sponsor's the one that gets $4 a month. Not subscribe.
I think there might be a sponsorship option to it, but I don't know.
Is there? Yeah. But she's got she's got hundreds of sponsors. Oh my God, the money that this girl's probably bringing in just through fucking doing this is crazy. And she's good at it. She's good at what she does. The one that's been killing me lately, I'm kind of late to the party on this guy because he's been around for a while, is Stone Mountain 64. Have you ever watched a Stone Mountain 64 video?
No. I said
he's your nightmare when you're playing a fucking combat game. He's the guy that comes on there and he's like dead serious about being the commander, and he's like, I got operations from Cortez, Yankee Oscar Lima Oscar. Stone Mountain 64 is on the battlefield. Dude is the funniest thing I've ever heard. He stays in character the entire match. And people are just like, oh my God, who am I playing with? And he's shouting directions. But the thing is, 9 times out of 10, he's the last guy alive. But when he dies, he does all, I'm dying. And somebody will heal him and be like, thank Thank you. You've got to watch Stone Mountain 64.
The thing is,
look up YOLO on the battlefield. It's fucking hilarious.
And the thing is, if I was able to do it on Twitch or something like that, and the old gang was still online.
Team Got It?
Not Team Got It.
Oh.
I would have worked things out with like Slacker and the Man if they were still up when we were playing hardcore Call of Duty and Halo, especially Call of Duty, because with like Modern Warfare and Black Ops and Black Ops 3, you had wager matches, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? It's my iPod.
Yeah. It just started playing randomly.
Playing. Like, what the fuck? They have wager matches. I mean, some of them are like gun game.
Right.
And what you start out with the weakest gun, which is the Python, and you work your way up to the ballistic knife, which is that last and it's supposed to be the most powerful weapon in the game. And what we do is we go in, 3 of us will go in, it's a 6-man match, and go, all right, everybody's going to be using the Python, knives only. Because if you knife someone, and if they're at the last one, they drop down one weapon.
Right.
So if you knife somebody has that ballistic knife, they're going to go way down to that Python again, and they got to start all over. And that's what we do the whole match. We'll wait for somebody to get to that sniper rifle, all of a sudden, knife, and we'd have our party on the headphones and have open chat on our TVs, and we hear motherfucking cocksuckers using knives again, motherfucker. And we were laughing hysterical. We went into a match that had a bunch of Latinos in it, and all we heard was motherfucking, it was just bandejos and putas, just all the Spanish curse words being thrown at us, and we're just, I'm like, guys, you do realize they're cursing at us in Spanish? They're like, how do you know? Well, I just heard putas at least 15 times, and gringos 13 times. I think I heard a couple of bandejos. And we just laughing, and it's like, I think a couple of guys got messages on Facebook that was the equivalent. It's like, I bet you kiss girls, you faggot. Right? Yeah, it's just messages like that, and we just laugh and laugh. It's like we'd be up until like 2-3 o'clock in the morning just doing that shit all night long.
God, see, watching all these gamers and stuff makes me want to get a better computer, like a desktop. Because right now I got a laptop. I can't play shit on my laptop.
The one that we use for the show that can't.
Well, mine's it's top of the line, but it's like the problem is I've got a lot dedicated to Photoshop and stuff on there. But at the same time, it's not a gaming computer. So if I run like Hello Neighbor, it runs slow. I have to like really, really fucking like watch how I play it because it'll like lag. I'd like to get something with like a nicer graphics card and like actually play like Battleground. Have you seen that one?
I've heard about it.
It's a survival game. And there's also King of the Kill. Have you heard of that one?
I think so.
Those are the ones that, like, they're really cool games because like it's how I would have liked to have played Call of Duty and all those games back in the day, but you would get ridiculed for it, like sniping and fucking hiding and like because it's basically they drop you without anything. Like you have just like pants and a shirt on, and you parachute out of a plane, you drop into a certain area, and you've got to collect your guns and your ammo and your health and everything. And then like in the meantime, while you're looting all these buildings, so are like 100 other people all around the map. And as you run into people, you battle, and it's like usually teams of 2 or squads of I want to say like 6 to 8 or 4 to 8 or something like that. And it's really cool because it's all the best parts of like a Call of Duty game, but not so much mission based, but how it keeps you. So in other words, how it keeps it so that the game doesn't like slow down is there's like a fog or like they call it gas or electricity that is constantly moving into the center of the map or moving into a certain spot. And you have to move into these safe zones, like everybody, has to move into these safe zones, and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and eventually forces everybody who's still alive together. So you'll get, at one point, you'll get like 20 people all in one spot, hiding in the bushes and behind trees and in buildings and shit, fucking sniping each other, and it's really cool. It's actually it's fun to watch.
But when I played, like, I was primarily a Call of Duty person. Multiplayer with the guys, and it was just up until like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Well, this would be, if I was playing this, would be super addictive.
And the thing is, I told people, it's like, when I played solo, I had my good days and I had my bad days, but I always seemed to play a more level towards better days when I played with the gang on the same team.
I played better
because we were all in party chat, and it was always, okay, who's going after B, who's going after A.
Right.
If it was like mission, like domination or team deathmatch, it's like, okay, I'm going around this way. Look out for this camper.
Have you watched any of the Friday the 13th?
No.
Oh,
I have to.
It's great.
I heard a lot about it from folks at home. It's more of a, it's, I think, 5 players total. One person plays as Jason.
Right. And you can play any Jason throughout the series.
And the thing is...
And the new Savini Jason.
Jason is like Jason from the movie. Is pretty much a juggernaut. And from what the...
well, you can kill him.
That from what I've heard, it's you can, but it's very, very, very hard to do.
Well, I noticed the one thing...
I don't know if they...
The improvement that I would suggest to the company that's making the game is... Somehow they have to make the campers weaker or make Jason stealthier. I mean, he's already got a lot to his advantage, but as I noticed as time goes on with the people online, the campers and the counselors are getting like braver, I should say. So like he's coming straight up to him, and if he doesn't surprise them, pretty much like out of nowhere, like they're just hitting him and he's falling over because you can stun him. Like if you hit him with a board, he like drops like a fucking brick. But they either need to make him tougher or some kind of a struggle aspect or like something. The one cool thing that they have, the feature that you can do if you're Jason, say if there's a player 50 yards in the distance, you can pretty much like teleport. Because you're like a spirit anyway. I mean, let's face it, Jason's not a living thing. So, like...
He used to be, but...
He used to be, but because of, like, various things that happen. But the way that he moves is almost like he'll see the person and, like, he can, like, kind of, like, fly up to them, like, kind of, like... And just all of a sudden he's right beside you. It's like, oh shit! So it's actually really cool, like how he'll just come out of nowhere or whatever. And the cool thing, I like that they did each Jason from the different movies. So like, and each of them has their own attributes and strengths and weaknesses and stuff, and they look exactly like they do from the movies, which is really neat.
That's one of the things I wanted to pick up and read if I got the chance to do so and had the funds. It's
expensive.
I'm not so much that particular game, but I wanted to read. They had a comic issue series out many years ago called Jason X versus. It was Jason versus Jason X,
right?
And it was just pitting the classic Jason that we all know and love versus the campy, cyborged out Jason X,
right?
And I just wanted to pick it up, but.
Savini Jason's pretty cool in this one.
Right.
He's like the Jason that's been to hell, and like they say, because he carries around like a pitchfork. And the story is that he defeated Freddy, and that's why he's got the slash marks in his outfit. And he stole the pitchfork from the devil.
Well, in one particular ending for Jason versus Freddy, for those who don't know, because both at the time were owned by Miramax.
Right.
What they wanted to do, it just didn't pan out, or when they proposed the idea, the reactions were not really.
Right. That
at the end of it, instead of the ending that was shown, it was them in essence hell.
Right.
Kind of not a neutral black limbo-esque type hell,
right.
And they were about to clash again, Jason with the machete and Freddy with his glove ready to attack each other, and all of a sudden you see chains wrap around each other and kind of pull each other back, and between the two of them is Pinhead going, boys, boys, boys.
That would have been excellent.
And it would have been like, I would have loved to see, not Freddy versus Jason versus Pinhead, but just the aspect of, Pinhead walking and going, gentlemen.
In that Doug Bradley deep, weird Pinhead voice.
Well, gentlemen, please.
Oh, man. Have you seen the new Pinhead stuff?
I've been hearing a little bit about it.
Yeah, there's a female variation with the...
Yeah. So it's kind of, I want to see it, but the last Hellraiser I've seen had kind of the child Pinhead.
Yeah.
And it was kind of, when you have stuff like that come out, and as a fan, you're kind of skeptical about what's coming out next.
Right.
So I want to see it, but I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
It's one of those instances.
Yeah.
I want to see more so the trailers, if I could find them.
Yeah, definitely.
But one last thing before we get into kind of the educational thing part of the show is recently Zach's part of me wants to say yes, act like Daniel Bryan and go yes, as the Jack Snyder is stepping down directing the JLA movie.
Well, it's already finished, but
it's the aspect of granted he stepped down. The reason why I wanted to go yes, because that was my initial reaction. He's stepping down, even though it's
but it's really fucked up line.
The reason why is that his daughter passed away due to an accident or something.
No,
like
she
that.
committed suicide.
She committed suicide. So I was like, I was in that mixed emotion of wanting to go
and
you can't really do that because here's somebody going through a tragic loss.
Well, and they kept it quiet for a long time.
So
nobody knew about this. And I thought that's the part that I thought was really strange, how quiet he kept it, and he went back to work. He finished the movie, and now he's pretty much handed it off to
Joss Whedon.
So that's the yes part, because Joss Whedon's really going to take care of this movie.
So that's why I was like, yes, someone who's not going to keep it dark, who could bring it if there has to be reshoots, could reshoot it to make it a little bit lighter.
Well, yeah, because between you and me, I'm thinking the movie was going to be a fucking dud.
And kind of speaking of which, Wonder Woman, the embargo, as of this recording, the embargo on any reviews for Wonder Woman has been lifted.
Right.
And according to, I'm not watching the reviews yet because
is it out?
The reviews, no, it's coming out. Okay. When this gets dropped, it'll be out by a week.
Okay. Because I heard there was an all-woman showing.
We'll get into that in a second a little bit because I wanted to kind of avoid a little bit of the controversial stuff this episode. But, for the most, I'll dust over it a little.
In other words, I just shut my mouth.
I tend to avoid before watching any movie the reviews.
Yeah.
Because if there's a lot of negative reviews, I don't want to.
You're going to go in negative. Yeah.
I'm going to go in negative, but. In regards to
or overly positive, depending on how you feel.
Right. For those out there who are going to say, well, what about Ghostbusters? I was going to go into negative no matter what.
Right.
But
I went overly positive. I feel like it.
So that's all I'm going to say about that. But I'm just stating a fact. I was going to go into if I'm going to go negative into a movie no matter what, I'm going to go into negative. Probably come out negative.
Right.
But for the most part, I tend to avoid the reviews.
Right.
But with Wonder Woman coming out, what I've been seeing on Rotten Tomatoes, it already has a 97% positive. In essence, has that positive rating to it. How the fans react will be completely different. We won't know that until
I never
June 3rd.
Yeah.
Or this past June 3rd.
Right.
And
we won't know until yesterday.
Yeah, we won't know until yesterday. God
damn it! I I think I just blew her sprocket.
But what's been happening is a lot of studios have been saying so far, because of this past Memorial Day,
Right.
people don't want to go out and see movies no more, and because of they have that.
Oh, was there like a Memorial Day flop?
So far it's been Baywatch.
Really?
Yeah, but
Pirates didn't do well.
Pirates did, I think, 100 and some odd. I have it saved up on my phone.
Because when we go to the movies, typically we don't actually go to an indoor movie theater anymore. We actually go to a drive-in. I know a lot of people that listen probably don't have the luxury of having a drive-in because there's so few and far between. But it helps.
You're a drive-in mutant.
Well, it's because we have a 4-year-old, and it's actually nice for us because when we go, we can take him.
Self-contained.
Yeah, and there's a playground, and we can feed him, and then he'll just go to sleep, and we watch a movie.
Pirates this past, as of this recording, was number one in the box office with 62 million.
Okay.
62 million and a half. It was
and Alien Covenant was
number 4. It hit 10.5 million.
Did you see that one yet?
No, I haven't. I'm going to wait. Since I've been hearing a lot of people more negative than positive.
Right.
No one spoiled anything.
Right.
But I'm going to wait until it comes out
now,
as a rental.
A lot of people didn't like it. I think I'm not going to spoil anything. I haven't seen it, but I think a lot of people didn't like it because they didn't like Prometheus. I like Prometheus in a way. I think a lot of the questions get answered from Prometheus in Covenant, but I don't know.
From what I've been hearing,
they're playing it at the drive-in, so I actually want to see it. But
from what I've been hearing is that the original person behind Covenant was the person who originally did the first Alien movie,
Ridley Scott,
and he decided, I don't like how everything came out with the lore of Alien, so I'm going to, in essence, shake
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. The deleted shit was the important shit. Whoever did the editing on that movie
for Covenant
fucked up. No, on Prometheus, they fucked up. Like, one of the most important scenes was cut from the movie, and it's how life started on Earth. According to the lore of the movie and the engineers and everything, with the engineer drinking the black goo and then it going into the fucking water and all that shit. Yeah, that was a cutscene. It was complete, or not a cutscene, but it was edited out. It was a deleted scene. So you kind of go into the movie kind of scratching your head. Oh, what, why? But no, I think if I'm correct, and from what I saw from all the trailers, it pretty much answers all the questions that remain from Prometheus. Okay, what happened to the girl and I guess David or whatever, when they took off? That answers that question. What happens when they arrive? That answers that question. And what happens after that? And then I think it kind of jumps forward to Alien or Aliens in regards to the planet and everything. After that, that's because I saw a timeline thing too with it. So, but irregardless. What I was saying about the drive-ins was I noticed that when I go to the drive-ins, according to, I don't know, my eyes, the place is packed on any given weekend for the movies that they show. Granted, it's cheaper to go there than it is to go anywhere else. It's $8 for 2 movies. Yeah,
that's why I tend to. I know $8 for 2 movies is a good deal. That's why I tend to go to the Berkeley Plaza for a matinee showing is $5.
Wow,
and for $10, I went with $20. I was able to get with $20, as I stated before, for Berkeley Plaza. I could go in for a matinee for $5, get a extra large drink, small popcorn, nachos, and candy, and have change left over.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Versus going to a place like Regal, where the same thing would cost me $30 to $40.
See, the thing with the drive-in is this: if you don't take your own food, now they charge you for bringing your own food in, but they don't need to know if you have it. If you really want to be sneaky, you can tell them you don't have any. but they charge you $5 if you bring it in yourself. The other thing is, when you get there, they want you to buy food there because it helps keep the drive-in open. I get that. So I usually buy a drink or something. Their food is expensive.
That's the thing.
Like, I love that place. I'll anybody that ever says ask me questions about going there, I'm like, yes, go there. It's an experience. It's awesome. We'll drop $60.
The thing is, what people don't know is when they say it's a half truth. Theaters like Berkeley, the drive-in, and Regal, they make the majority of their profits
of concessions.
Off concessions.
Yeah.
Because what little people do they know is that when it comes to the movie, depending on the theater,
right?
Theater like the drive-in or Berkeley Theater, they might make only 10% off of the ticket sales,
right?
With the majority going to the studio.
Yeah.
Whereas Regal, it might be closer to 50%.
Right.
So when you see a box office, when you hear on the news, Guardians of the Galaxy or Pirates of the Caribbean made $500 million, yeah, cut that in half.
Right.
Because half of that went to the theaters and the other half is going to the studio.
Right.
And you still have to do even more math after that.
Right.
Because some people, I had this conversation with somebody yesterday when I was, Saturday when I went to see the Pirates movie.
Right.
No, it was Sunday. He was like, what? I said, when you see a movie, if it costs, let's say, $100 million to make, that's how much it has to, not so much break even.
Right.
When you hear it on whatever news, TMZ, local news, or national news, that a movie made $200 million, it's not a blockbuster, even though you think it is.
Yeah.
And he's like, what do you mean? It's like, first, half of that money has to go towards the studio. So it made its money, it made its production money back.
Right.
But it didn't make a profit. And he was like, what do you mean? It's like, a studio like Warner Brothers or Disney has to cover their advertising costs.
But then you get movies like that. What was the one that Shia LaBeouf put out last year or this year?
They only made like $5.
Sold one ticket.
Right.
In the UK. Can you imagine making a movie and selling one ticket? Oh my God. Fucking that one that Matt Burns' O-Face was in made more money than that.
Probably. So it's weird,
Yeah.
In reference to how the movie industry works.
Yeah, but I know. But going to I guess because you're saving money on getting in, spending that extra money to concessions are good things.
Right. Yeah. And with initially it was like $4 to get in.
Yeah.
But Berkeley Plaza has upgraded to the digital
same thing.
And they upgraded their seats to, instead of the kind of the cushiony type of fabric seats and sticky seats that they had, it's now like a leather reclining seat a little bit,
nice.
And it's got the fold down arm rests with cup holders in them.
Nice.
So it's worth the extra $1 or $2.
Yeah. Well, it's like the Alamo. It's like, okay, so it's expensive to get in, but
you're paying an extra $1 or $2. It's still compared to the $10, $12 to get into a Regal.
Yeah.
It's still $5. You're spending half the price, and it's like $6 to get in past 6, or like $6 or $7.
And then you also get dinner. And
I'm just talking about Berkeley.
Well, I'm just saying. No, with Alamo, I mean, you got a full menu, beer, and everything else.
But with Alamo, it tends to be a little expensive.
Super expensive, yeah.
But
so you're going to drop $60 if you go out tonight.
To kind of
moving along,
I want to say this in regards to the whole Alamo Wonder Woman controversy. I could see where both sides. I'll say it like this, without getting too much into the argument. I could see where both sides have a point,
right? And
it's how things were presented.
That's true.
To the public.
No, that's true.
It is where one side is. Coming from. It's how things are presented. And until I am shown how Alamo has set things up,
right?
It was listed as far as I've been told, and I've said this to many people, it was listed as a public event, not a private event. There is a difference.
Right.
And
I don't know what my thing is. I don't know what they were trying to prove. I mean, I understand.
Yeah.
I get it, and it's an interesting experiment,
Right.
to see if you can get an all-female sold-out audience to a movie. I mean,
Yeah,
in and of itself, that's an interesting experiment, especially to a superhero flick.
It's wording, how they worded it. I think Alamo worded things wrong.
I think so.
I
agree.
And to double down like they did, kind of hurt their cause, because
Well, like
from
Crystal even said, my wife, she said, why not just have a ladies' night?
if they said it was a ladies' night,
Yeah.
but
like,
in a way,
in other words, everyone's welcome, but like women get in free, or something like that.
Because there is, from what someone has told me, as I mentioned, I think it was on Sasha's timeline when she brought it up, is that people forget.
Did that include her as well?
Yeah, how Alamo worded it, it did include her as well.
Okay.
People forget the past,
Right.
and only focus on the present and future.
That's true.
Because from what I was told, I want to look deeper into the legality of what was mentioned, because what was told to me is like this: the Civil Rights Act of 1964,
Right.
which says any public place or place that is open to the public, like theaters,
Right.
if they having a public event,
Right.
they have to open it up to everybody.
Right. No, right.
And that's why I said how Alamo worded things could have been, or presented things could be wrong.
Right.
If they said, we're renting this out in correlation with several women's groups.
Say this is a private event for
open,
such and such a group to have an all-woman showing.
Open to only women.
Right.
Then it becomes a private event.
Right.
Open invite to women and those who are transgending to women.
Right.
Then yes, Alamo is in their perfect legal right.
No, you're
or
absolutely
we're kind of like how Zombie Bunny had her little ordeal with when she got Employee of the Month of Alamo, that we're renting the. If Alamo said we're renting this room, this theater out to have a women's only showing,
Right.
then it becomes that public.
Right.
It becomes a private. But to advertise it as a public event
Right.
is where kind of the outrage. Is it petty? Yes. And
But-
it just it's that presentation is where
No, yeah,
that
but
stumbling block.
but it makes perfect sense. I
Right.
mean, it's nothing I would get up in a tizzy about,
right.
but it's one of those things where, like, you're right. They need to watch how they present stuff.
Right.
You cannot have a public, like you said, event, and then if I was to show up and they denied me access. Okay, well, I'm a woman. Yeah. Who's to say I'm not? According to all the gender identity politics these days, who's to say I'm not a woman?
Right.
Honestly. So that's.
I got a couple double D's. But to kind of move into our education.
Everyone's a woman. Everything is art. Fuck it.
Everything's art.
Did you watch that, by the way? When I post, I'm not going to get into it.
No.
All right, I'll talk to you after the show.
To kind of move on to a little bit of our educational part, or to have a better educational discussion.
Education.
And yet still be geeky as well.
Yeah.
Recently, I don't know if you saw the news too, Jim Starlin, I think, had a few words about the CGC, the comic grading organization, certified guarantee company. I've heard both.
Right.
Is a company that pretty much for the folks at home, comics are graded.
Ruins comic books.
Out there. What people tend to do is that if they get that old issue of, or certain issues, they would rather have it what's called slabbed. Which is encased in a very hard plastic, and it's graded, and the company is one of the most respected certification companies in the industry.
Right.
And for a fee of maybe about $30 to $35, they will grade what's called grade that comic on between a 0 to 10 scale.
The Overstreet basic scale.
The 10 scale, the 10 rating is very, very, very rare. Even comics that have come off the line have not really gotten a 10 scale, 10 rating. They get maybe a 9.8 sometimes.
9.8 is the highest I've ever seen.
So, but for some who want to protect what would be their higher value issues, they tend to have them graded. Some people who invest, which I think Big Candy and I will agree that is the stupidest thing to do in the industry, and we'll get to that in a moment. That particular discussion in a moment, which is hinting of the next topic.
Right.
But the aspect of it is that where he's complaining in reference to this is that at shows like maybe like an Awesome Con or a Wizard World or a Baltimore Comic Con, the CGC is there to grade comics for those who pick up that rare issue and they want it graded, they want it uber protected, and it's going to be their show point of the collection. That's fine.
Right.
But at shows like that, what they tend to do is that if you get it signed by certain people like Jim Starlin or Alex Ross or whomever, they will be there watching over that signature, and instead of it being $30 to $35, it's now $40 to $50 total. So it could be official signature series, and
because it gets its own banner.
It gets its own banner, but if you have a comic signed by the creator, whether it be Jim Starlin, Alex Ross, or whomever, and you bring it to the CGC, and that comic is a 9.6 or a 9.8, it gets bopped down to maybe an 8.6 because it's signed. It's considered ruined, even though you witnessed that signature. And that's one reason. The other reason is, well, they'll tell you, well, we don't know if that signature is authentic.
Right.
I
know exactly how you could fight this.
And there is another.
Not hard.
There is one.
It costs you $11.80 to fight this.
I know there's one comic grading company that is kind of their rival. That is going to has been going to shows, asking people like Jim Starlin, "Can we have your autograph? We are this grading company. What we want your autograph for is that when someone brings us a signed comic and says it's signed by you, we have a signature to compare it to. And we're not going to charge any more for it. That way, we can authorize that it's signed and validated without charging anymore and having it be part of a signature collection." So, which is a good idea.
I can go one better.
How?
A receipt. All people who sign at shows have handlers. They pretty much are just sitting there, making sure the line moves, making sure that things.
That way, it becomes like a certificate of authenticity.
It's like one. It's just like the old ticketing systems that you had back in school, like for raffles.
Yeah.
Like a 2-part ticket. One has one number, one has the same number. Hi, I just got this signed by so and so. Here's my ticket. You give it to them. Oh, okay. The other half of the ticket is with the person who did it, right? All they got to do is confirm. Did ticket number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 get this signed? Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we got that ticket. Okay, it's certified.
But what Jim has stated, at least, yeah.
I mean, that's simple.
But that's one thing. But Jim has stated in the quote in the article that I got, he said, "I hereby disavow any association with the Certified Guarantee Company, the CGC, and will not be signing any further books where they are involved." He said. He goes on to say, "Folks, you don't freaking need to pay good money to prove a signature is authentic. If the book is signed by me, it's been at a convention, and you've seen me sign it."
I get that. But there's a lot of forgery. But
I could see where he's coming from.
Yeah.
But if you're at a convention where what you're saying, and I'm agreeing with you, if you're at a convention and you see a signed Starlin book or a signed Alex book, you don't really know if it's a forgery.
Yeah.
Granted, there are more forgeries in the
Well,
sports autograph industry.
big time.
Than there is in
There's
the comic.
there's a whole separate industry of forgeries. I've told you the story about the local card shop. In Manchester.
Fill our listeners in reference to this particular story.
And I don't mind naming names either because one of them's dead. When I was growing up, there was a place in Manchester called Collector's Corner.
And I think I've been.
Yeah,
been
you've
there.
probably been there.
Picking up supplies, general supplies and stuff.
They're no longer there. Now it's a vacuum. No, it's a bike shop. It was a vacuum cleaner store. But through my teens and early 20s, I went there religiously, probably once, twice every week. Packs of cards, box of cards, things like that. I never really got into the autographs.
Now, to fill in the listeners, I've been in a few card shops myself, and like most sports card shops, they sell packs of baseball cards, football cards,
the magazines, all the paraphernalia.
Sometimes they might sell some non-sports cards, but they would also sell card cases and stuff to store the stuff. And sometimes they would sell
discount boxes,
and sometimes display boxes.
And then they'd also have
other stuff.
Autographed baseballs, footballs, baseball bats,
autographed stuff too.
So just a little bit of everything. A lot of them are getting away from that stuff now, though. Because, like in this instance, Mary and Jerry Fisher, I think that was their last name, who ran the place, were dealing in fake autographs. Because at the time, the industry wasn't as high-end as it is now. There was some high-end stuff, but it wasn't, like it is now. So to get that high-end dollar, when the baseball card market started dropping out, see, it was real popular in the early 90s with the baseball card boom, but when it slowed down in the mid-90s and the early 2000s, these people started to panic because they built their entire livelihood around this stuff.
Yeah, I remember that. Seeing cards that were $2 or $3 and $5 or $10, all of a sudden within months, following it on through the trades like Beckett and tough stuff, see that card go $10, $5 and $3. Then all of a sudden that card that you bought $10 2 months ago is now equivalent of a common card and worth not even 10 cents.
It's gotten even worse, to be honest with you. It's gotten way worse. But like Ken Griffey Jr. Rookie card. The highest that I remember seeing it booked was $75. And this was like 94 maybe.
I know Frank Thomas was a big thing too.
Frank Thomas was a big one too. One of his cards still books for $200, but that's because if you find the one without the name on it, it's blank. Or one's like a blank back or something.
I know. I still remember I have the Donruss Cal Ripken Jr. rookie card from 80. I think it's like 82.
Yep.
It's number 405. I've seen that fluctuate when I looked.
It goes
up to like 50. I think the highest I've seen it was like 60.
Well,
then it goes down to maybe about $20.
It's going to go up. It's on its way back up again because he's like one of the last of the great baseball players. Like that whole era is gone. Tony Gwynn, Cal Ripken, Don Mattingly, all those 80s stars. I'll get back into that in a minute. So, as the sport, as the hobby, it's kind of a sport in some ways. As the hobby started to kind of die off in the late 90s, early 2000s, a lot of people switched to memorabilia. And you were getting a lot of the QVC memorabilia on the market, that garbage sign stuff that was like just, just a dime a dozen. But then you're also starting to get a lot of the fake stuff because basically people woke up one morning and said, why couldn't I just slap a signature on this and a phony certificate of authenticity? Somebody will buy it because a lot of people aren't going to check. And at the time, there really was no way to check. You go into a sports card place.
Even a lot of the so-called sports card equivalents of the CGC were dealing in fakes too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my God, they were rampant. Like
even back when they were selling stuff, and Tough Stuff was selling quote unquote authentic signatures. They turned out to be
they're all
8 out of 10 faked.
Panini just got in trouble for a bunch of stuff. Like there was fake signatures in a Panini product just recently. What it was here. without going into a whole lot of detail because it's very involved. What they'll do nowadays, the players aren't signing each card. What they do is they send them out a sticker sheet. It's like a big sheet of just these little stickers that have a holographic background. And they go through and sign each one and mail it back to Panini or Topps or whoever. And then Topps can just take that sticker and stick it on a card. A lot of people don't like stickered autographs because you don't know who signed it. You have no idea who signed it. They send them to the person, but they could have had like their assistant. Hey man, I don't got time. Could you just put my name on this stuff? And they'll sit there and send them back. So a hard signed card, which is a card that is signed on the card, is always witnessed by a member of whatever company. So you know hard signed autographs are legit. Because they're signed in person at the place or something. I don't know how they do it, but so anyway, so they just said, okay, we can start signing this crap. Well, turns out they sold the establishment to a gentleman from, where was he from? Ohio? I can't remember. Nice guy, but when I went in there and it had changed hands, I noticed that he was stressed out, freaked out. And I was like, yeah, Mary and Jerry ran the place for a long time. Sad to see him go. He's, yeah, fuck them. I was like, what? Because these are people that I grew to know and like. So I was...
And they seemed like good people.
Yeah, I was flummoxed. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, how long have you been coming here? I'm like, probably for the better part of like 8-9 years. Oh, you never bought any autograph stuff from them, did you? I said, no, not really. I'm not into that. Oh, okay, well, he said, he got around to 90%. He had a guy come in
to certify
to authenticate everything. 90% of the stuff that he bought from them when he bought their business out was fake. Phony. And not only that, but he said that they taught him how to seed the packs in the boxes. So like me, when I was younger, I'd come in and I'd buy packs of cards instead of boxes of cards. I didn't have that kind of money. It was like $70 and up, $50 and up at the time, I think.
That's why back in the early '90s, I loved big lots. $5, $5. I know you got lousy runs or from lousy cards, but still, it was just fun.
I'll get to that.
As a collector, it was just fun.
Yeah,
having limited funds, getting a $5 box of cards.
I'll get to that in a minute. There's more of a story to that than you think.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah. So they taught him how to seed packs. So okay, like your cards that are thicker, which have either autographs or memorabilia attached to them, or thicker in the box. You take those out, you open another box, you put the thinner packs in, and all this stuff like weight. They talking about weighing packs and stuff, and that's when he knew something was up, that they were crooks. Weighing packs and like all kinds of stuff. Like when he knew that somebody would come in, he told me they would sit there and watch somebody open up packs at the store, pull all the hits, and then he put all the duds back in. All the packs that, like, basically, if you have 2 hits per box, he'd see them pull the hits, and then they just put the box back on the shelf with the duds in it and not tell anybody.
Meaning you'd read the person.
So the person, you're trying to find good cards, and there's only like 2 autographs or 2 memorabilia in the box, so you're just buying base for retail price.
Basically, for the folks at home, what tends to happen even with the non-sports cards, because there are, with like Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh! And even probably Pokemon, that still have value attached to them. What some people do is they manage to open up the packs so the packs themselves are not torn.
Right.
And they take out all the cards.
They
take out all the valuable ones.
Reseal.
And put in, because it has to be 15 cards.
Yep.
They put in what Big Candy said, the duds or the low value ones from another box, probably. Meaning what most card shops tend to do is they'll have one for everybody to sell and one that they break down
Yep.
to sell as commons and special cards. They'll put in the common cards in the packs, resell them,
Yep.
reseal them up, and put that box on the shelf for
Oh,
individual
and
sale.
it was a lot easier with the 1980s and like those cards because they were the wax packs.
Right.
Oh, you could just break those open and put them right back together. Nowadays, with the cello packs or the foil packs, it's a lot harder because they'll rip and tear, and you can't do that. But yeah, with the wax packs, it was easy. I knew they were shuffling out 90s or early 1980s cards. Shit, I never got anything good ever. But so it turns out they moved to Florida. Sold him a dud, and he ended up going out of business, and that was the last card shop that was in Winchester.
And the thing is, for those of you who want to buy have the funds for a box of cards or a sealed box of cards, whether it's non-sports or sports type cards, that's why a lot of people, I think Big Candy will agree that if a company like Topps has the cellophane, their company name on the cellophane, like with Konami, who does
It's thin. Don't ever, if the cellophane is like a thick or a stiff or a rigid cellophane, it's been reboxed.
Companies like Topps and Konami puts out Yu-Gi-Oh! They put Konami all over the cellophane.
It's printed on the cellophane. Yeah.
And I think Magic the Gathering does the same thing. They put like Wizards of the Coast on the cellophane.
Yeah.
And that way, when you get the box, you know it's an actual factory sealed
I
box.
wish they would go the extra step and put the tamper-proof sticker across the lip where you open it, because they do that with their high-end shit. With their high-end, well, like even their just mid-end shit, they'll put a seal across so that once it's broken, you can't put it back. I wish they would do that with the retail shit, but they don't ever do it. They just leave it in the cellophane. Now, the one light at the end of the tunnel to our story here, and it was what you were talking about, the good stuff where you used to buy the $5 boxes of cards. Well, turns out. So what have you always heard about the value of those?
From what I gathered in reference to, like, because what Big Lots, Odd Lots, same company,
Right.
What they would do is, back in the day, early 90s to mid 90s, they would
Late
sell
80s to
early 90s.
Yeah.
I was doing it in the early 90s when I had maybe about $5 to $15 in my pocket,
Right.
and wanted something to do. And my folks were like, "Hey, we're going up to Big Odd Lots or Big Lots. We want to come." And if I had like $15, I'd be like, "Yes, I want to come," because I always knew that particular store would have a box of like Dunruss or a box of Score, a box of Upper Deck, or
Right.
a box of something for between $5 and $15.
Right.
And according to like Tough Stuff, these weren't the most at the time.
Right.
The best runs.
But why did you hear that they weren't the best runs?
Because I think Tough Stuff graded those particular companies in that particular year. They were like out of 5 stars, maybe a 2 or 3 star.
Yeah. The reason why is because they were quote unquote overproduced. Meaning, when the baseball card boom happened in the late 80s, early 90s, and all the baseball card shops came in, and the conventions, and all the shows and all that stuff, and it got hot, and all the cards, the people were like, started making money off of baseball cards. In essence, it got hot for about a minute, and then all of a sudden, the downturn happened. So Upper Deck was making like boatloads of cards. They were making box after like pack after pack, box after box. Topps was mass producing cards, and they made so many that it was enough to supply the generation that was after them,
Right.
and then some. Well, when it all went downhill, as it goes, they started slowing down production. So a lot of companies went out. Donruss went out. Score went out as a company by itself. Panini went out. Oh, not Panini, but what was the other? Oh, Pinnacle.
Pinnacle.
They went out as a company by themselves. But Panini stepped in and absorbed a lot of those companies. So now they own Score. They own Donruss. They own Pinnacle. They
And
own
these were boxes that were like they were like 20 packs, 30 packs a box, and 15
Yeah.
cards a pack. And at that time, a cheap bastard or someone who only might have had $5-10 on them at any given time.
Right.
It was I didn't have any money, didn't have a job. Here's something to do on a weekend.
Oh, yeah. So
get a pack of cards and just go through them and organize them.
So those cards, in today's terms, are not overproduced. Overproduced cards now, I mean, they come out with a set, 2-3 sets every week. So today's cards, as far as base, they're never going to go up. Like, even if you have, like a hot rookie might be okay for now. A couple of months from now, like I watched a Dak Prescott go from $14 a piece to $3 a piece in like 3 months.
So history, in essence, is kind of repeating itself.
In a way, but this is the cool part. So all those cards that you had, the cheap boxes of, think about the players that are in those boxes. Ripken, Mattingly, Gwynn, all the great Hall of Famers that are coming out now, all the Griffey, all the guys that are like Hall of Famers now, that was their rookie years. It's the only place you can get those cards. And there was less of those produced overall than cards are produced now. So technically, those rookie cards are short printed as compared to today's.
Now that being said, our kind of the next topic that I brought up, I misread.
So in other words, if I can finish,
Go ahead.
they're collectible again. All the So here's my advice to everyone out there. The cards that you had sitting at home that somebody told you weren't worth anything,
They could be worth something.
they're starting to be worth something. Protect them. Put them in something. Put them away. They will be worth something.
To kind of base off that the topic,
Right.
I misread the article.
Oh.
Meaning, the article that I have printed up, because I was using it as a baseline, was 15 reasons why the comic book industry tanked in the 90s. I misread it because I thought it was talking about today.
Oh, well, today it's definitely tanky.
So I figured, why not?
How'd you like that Ben Shapiro thing that...
I was like, wow, part of me was like, did he listen to our show?
Right?
Was he one of the 15 people that actually listened?
I mean, that was incredible.
I was like, it was like so well-timed release of After Hours and us discussing it. And it was like, wow, did he actually, was he...
Yeah,
because we were trying to...
It was right on point, yeah.
I was trying to be relevant with the current era of what was going on, and all of a sudden, I think I saw it like 3 days prior to you, and he was like, did you see what Ben Shapiro was? I'm like...
He just tends to articulate a lot better than we
did.
can. But
it's the same, kind of the same...
Oh, right on.
I'm like,
perfect.
Wow.
I was like, yes.
I was like, did you listen to the episode? Shit. Fuck. But,
I love Ben Shapiro.
Back, for those of you who are now getting into comic as a hobby, as, dare I say, investment, I hate using that term, because I think for those of you out there who consider the comic industry as an investment is a very bad mistake, because it has tanked in the 90s.
Well,
my question to you is, do you think that it's going to... the bubble will burst again?
Yeah. Well, it already has. I mean, here's the problem. So,
and reading the article, it seems like it is happening again.
It is. Well, here the problem is, what are people collecting?
A lot of the mainstream stuff, because some of them are seeing the movies, the Batmans, the Supermans,
Well, I mean, my eye would tend to want to collect the older, harder to find original story stuff. Who's collecting modern comic books? I don't think anybody. I mean, very seldom am I going anywhere where anything 90s and up isn't in a $2 bargain bin. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, the stories aren't significant. Like, In other words, you can recall first appearance of Wolverine,
Right.
first appearance of the Hulk, first appearance of Daredevil, Spider-Man, the Punisher. In my brain, I can see those covers right now.
And
They're iconic.
And the thing is,
what besides Walking Dead is that iconic right now?
I'll say this, as I've said to a lot of the new collectors out there, or the people that collected as a kid,
Right.
and think their issues are now worth something because they were growing up in the early to mid 90s and late 80s.
Yeah.
Sad to say, about not even a tenth of what you have is worth anything over $5.
No.
Outside of maybe Hulk 181, which is the first physical full frontal print of Wolverine, that's worth something. X-23, her first appearance, is probably worth something.
X-23, but that's because it's a new character.
New character.
It's a
Walking
brand new
Dead,
character.
when it first was coming out, it has that...
Right. First appearance of Rick Grimes, first appearance of...
Because it was a very limited run. Yes, there are reprints,
right.
But that first appearance, that first issue, limited run is worth something.
Right. So that stuff's worth something because it's translated to other media.
Right.
Okay. That's the only stuff that's going to carry any value temporarily.
Even the very first instances of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
yeah.
The very first ones are worth something. Everything
because
after that...
translated to movie...
after that, it's kind of worthless.
Nothing. So, and it's only those first issues. And, like, all the creator content stuff, it's good for reading, but it's never going to be worth anything.
Right.
I mean, you might as well just, read it and give it to somebody else. Unless people in the comic book industry does what the sports card industry did, and I don't mean, in a way they do sometimes with it, they're going to have to add value to their product. Fortunately, unlike the sports card industry, it's not just a printing game. See, the problem with Topps and Panini and all those places, they don't actually print their own stuff. Somebody in an office comes up with a design and they send it off to a printers. They don't own the printers. They pay for it to be printed. Marvel, I think, if I'm not wrong, actually prints their own stuff, and I think DC does too, but I could be wrong. Please let me know if I'm wrong. But if they're printing their own stuff, they could come up with ways. One of the good ways, and I do like this, is the sketch cover variants, where you can have them done they're blanks, and you can have somebody draw on it. That's cool. I don't like the dealer variants because you don't get a good shot at them, and most of the time the dealer just gets them and jacks them up and fucking sells them. Anyway.
What the aspect is, the sad thing is that you might have where in comics it's all speculation from the printer aspect, the publisher aspect,
right?
Because sometimes they might put out something that they're not sure is popular, and therefore it's going to be a low run.
Right.
And all of a sudden, it's a surprise hit.
Right. That's stuff.
What we're going to do is, folks at home, we're going to probably in a couple of minutes take a brief pause before we go through the list and see how it compares today. The list of what happened in the 90s can compare today. But with sports cards, and I think it happens more so with non-sports cards, is that a lot of the publishers or the printers can make their own scarcity.
Well, yeah. Well, the one thing that has helped sports cards over the years is the innovation of serial numbers and memorabilia. Now, I know you can't do that with comic books. You could do serial numbered comic books.
And I think
which would be awesome because then you know the print run that you're working with. You know the issue that you have. That'd be kind of cool.
I think it's Direct Forces. I think is the company. Mm-hmm. They do the lithographs and limited run. Some limited run. They work with. I think they might work with Marvel and DC and do limited foil covers.
Those are okay, but I'm saying they need to add value. That's the problem. There needs to be added value to the consumer. Throw in a sticker every once in a while. I mean, I'm a fan of your book. Fuck, put a sticker in there. Waxwork Records. the horror record people that I collect a lot of their stuff and I sell a lot of their stuff.
You mean back in the old days when you got comics with trading cards or something in them?
Yeah, but like Waxwork Records nowadays, they're coming out in, I want to say it comes out in June, is the first of their comic book series. They're going to start doing comic books, and with each comic book comes a 7-inch record that's like a soundtrack to the comic.
Kind of like almost like the old days of music where you might have had bands. I think Styx did it.
Yeah.
You might not, folks don't not be familiar with the band, but I think Styx is the one that did the Domo Arigato.
Right. Yeah.
And a lot of bands back in I think 70s and 80s, they did themed albums.
Right.
I think.
But that's what I'm saying. Like,
and you couldn't just listen to one song. You had to listen from track 1 to track whatever.
Right.
So.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, so this whole thing, what they're doing now, is they're adding value to their product right off the bat. They know that if Waxwork Records comes out with comic books, okay, you're a record company, why are you putting out comic books? Well, we're going to throw in a 7-inch with it. And they always come with like a sticker or something. So, like, I think they're going to be a big hit because horror comics are coming back in a big way right now because of The Walking Dead and stuff like that. Those, I think, will carry value in the future because there's an added bonus. Comic books that come out directly on the shelf, you know what? I almost wish that they would just stop coming out monthly and just start doing graphic novels of storylines, and almost like how novels come out, you know, like in a 1, 2, and 3 part or something like that. But make it worth my while. Like, I'll drop $20 on a book if it's like 100 and some pages, even if it's like in 3 parts. You know what I'm saying? Rather than, okay, here's a 26-page comic book for $4.99, and I got to collect like say it's like a Civil War storyline. I got to collect 18 fucking books over the course of like 6 months.
Even though
that
you have the main storyline that's maybe 5-10 books,
right?
And yet by the time you get to book 4,
right,
you're reading about something that happened in Spider-Man 15.
Yeah, this is Civil War was why I pretty much quit reading comic books, because I said to myself, okay, this is no longer about storylines. It's no longer about great artwork because the artwork has gone way downhill. It's all about money. It's all about raking in the cash and making money off of.
You've seen it a little bit with DC in the mid-90s, early this century.
Yeah.
There were some great storylines. More so, like, it was after the death of Superman.
Like the New 52 and stuff?
Not so much the New 52.
Oh.
Well, I'm talking about, you might have had Action Comics 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
But they had a little triangle, inverted triangle, underneath it that said number 15.
Right.
And as somebody that was, at that time, stepped away from comics and might have picked up an issue or two at wherever they were sold, it's kind of confusing. You don't like, well, is this issue 1, 2, 3?
Yeah.
But is it issue 15?
Yeah.
But if it's issue 15,
Well,
is it issue, what's 14?
And they got away from like the storytelling too. Like, okay, instead of like everything doesn't have to be canon. Do you remember when they would come out with the Elseworlds tales?
Yeah.
Those were fun, and they didn't have to mean anything. It was just something fun for you to buy and go, oh man, this is cool. Like, what if Superman landed in Russia? What if, Batman and Green Lantern got the ring?
Or what if Batman was actually a vampire?
Yeah, what if Batman was in old times? Just you can tell a story. That's the problem with comic books. They stopped telling stories.
That's where you got the Watchmen. You got the Dark Knight Returns. You got a lot of the good stuff.
Yeah, What If? Remember What If?
Yeah.
What If was great because it was like
campy stories, one shots.
Yeah, one shots. It was like somebody was like, like what if the Hulk got AIDS. I don't know.
You got what if General Ross became the Hulk instead of Banner? And,
yeah, but now that's canon. Boo. You know, it's
but this was like in the I had that graphic novel of the what if.
Yeah.
It was like the what if you had what if General Ross became Hulk instead of Banner. What if Charles Xavier and Magneto were Magneto never really became the bad guy,
right?
That sort of thing. And it was like, what if Jessica Jones actually joined the Avengers,
right? And you could tell a story, and it would be the end of it.
That's how I knew about Jessica Jones, was from that what if,
right? Well, that's what I'm saying, and that would be the end of it, and it would add another layer, another level to like people's perception of heroes and like why they're heroes or why they're villains, and in cosplay, like. You could be those Elseworld characters. You could be those what if characters. You could, it would provide a whole nother level of excitement instead of I'm forced to read this book with a storyline that goes all over the fucking place with characters I don't give a rat's ass about because now Thor's a woman and the Hulk is Chinese. And
or it's like if I want to read this run, or if I'm a casual Batman fan, and all of a sudden they decide to do this. Storyline, in order for me to find out what's happening in Batman 1, 2, 4, I have to pick up Catwoman, Superman, Wonder Woman, all to find out what, because it seemed to skip what happened in 1, 2, 3 is not in 1, 2, 4.
And from the perspective of art, like when I was reading like Civil War, like you had really good artwork. Like I want to say Steve McNiven or whatever was doing the artwork in the main books. But then you would go to like the event, or no, it wasn't the Avengers. It was like one of the other side shoot, and the art was fucking terrible. The story was written horrible. I'm just like, why are you forcing me to read a tie-in that is subpar to the main story?
Or That's why you hear me say it every now and again. Reference comes to comics.
Just get out of the monthly.
You have a whole mess of people, fanboys and fangirls,
right?
And saying like, I can't believe they'll pick up one particular artist and they'll either snap a photo of it, or if they have a scanner, they'll scan in the page and load it to a Facebook group. And like, and they'll be like, look at this artwork, how it's, and it is lousy art. I mean, it literally sucks. I could probably draw better on my bad day.
Dude, the artwork at Marvel, I don't know who's judging it, but he is going downhill.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like I could draw better on a bad day, and in the next breath, underneath that, it's like, well, it's still better than John, Liefeld. You're like, really? You're going to go there immediately? This is
Rob Liefeld is fucking Rembrandt compared to some of the shit.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like why are you doing stuff like that when his Captain America, when he has gone on record, said he was sick when he didn't give a rat's ass when he did it, is better than this crap.
Oh, 100%.
And I've seen one that one artist did that was, it was of Cable.
Right.
It looked like Rob Liefeld did it when he was sick and did it like after he did Captain America.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the fanboys were like, oh man, this is great, it's Cable, it's awesome. And like, wait a minute. No. You're gonna bitch on Rob Liefeld, but you're not bitching on this because it's a different artist.
Right.
Screw you. But for now, we're going to pause a little bit. You're not going to notice the pause, but we have to. Nature is calling us for a moment, and we'll be back in a brief minute. Okay, folks. Even though you probably didn't notice, we are back. And we're talking about in reference to comics and how history could be repeating itself a little bit. To go through the list that I got, that article in reference to 15 reasons why the comic book industry tanked in the 90s, and see if I'll go through the list starting from 15 and going down to 1.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to read the underneath. If I do, it's going to be a little bit of a synopsis, but we'll see how it kind of correlates with what's going on today in 2017. Number 15 that they have is the direct market, and that's pretty much going to your local comic shop and ordering, having a subscription through them and having a box or whatever.
Right.
A lot of, they say it's like was the establishment of the direct market, especially stores that became places where comic book fans could meet and convene, and stores themselves weren't bogged down by the comics code. Because that's when, in essence, the boom was starting with many comic shops springing up in areas. I think Four Colors Fantasies might have been one of those in the Winchester area. I think right now it's not a cause. I think back then it might have been one of the factors, but now...
here's what it does. Okay, say you get in a finite amount of comic books per month. And you put them on the shelf and they sell out day one. Say, let's just say 15 of the same book. And it's a hot book. Sells out day one. Well, you got 15 people that are happy and 35, 40, 50 people that are not because they didn't get it. Okay? So you've created what's called a demand. In a capitalist society, which we happen to live in, supply and demand is what rules and how things get done. If you have direct to market, then you are guaranteed to get that book. So there's no demand, there's just supply side. Now, yes, you pay a premium. I'm guessing. Was there a rate that you had to pay per month for those boxes?
No.
See, that's where they went wrong. You would have to pay a rate for that to work out. So in other words, you were guaranteed the books.
I think Four Color at the time told me that you had to.
No, you actually got a percentage off.
Yeah, you got a percentage off, but I think the minimum you had to get to have a box was maybe about $15-$20.
And that's like 3 books.
So nowadays, yeah.
Yeah.
But
so back then that would have been like $100. But no, like I think back in the 90s that would have definitely poisoned, but today it would definitely poison it because I mean if you're guaranteed a book, what's
not to mention I think not all stores, I'll say it like that. Some stores, I know Atomic Comics in Hagerstown, if they're still open. What the guy told me this was 10 years ago, he said with the what he does at his store is that if he has 10 people subscribe to Batman per se or a particular comic in general, what he'll do is order those 10 plus whatever he normally would order, which means if he orders 25 books, he's ordering 35. So that way the people who come in can buy an issue, and then he also has stuff for the people that normally subscribe. There are, as we both know, that there are some comic shops, I don't know if they still do it or not, they'll order 15 comics and leave those comics sitting on the counter, and if you're one of those people that particular comic should be in your box and you come to pick up on that Saturday after you get paid, you don't have it.
right?
And it's sold out because it could be a hot book.
Right.
What happens? You have that type of ordeal.
I think first come first serve would be a better model. I mean, I understand the subscription boxes to a point, but if everybody's getting exactly what they want, then where does it leave room for scarcity? Scarcity drives collectability. So in other words, in a collectability market, there is none. I mean, if you're getting exactly what you want, then why would you worry about collectability?
I think that's with the what they also kind of brought into things later in this list.
Yeah.
Their number 14 is the Dark Age of comics. Comics, they start off as saying, comics have always experienced a never-ending saga of rises and falls when it came to sales. The highs are usually the result of some outside factor or a major shakeup within the industry.
Right.
The Dark Age of comics saw a push by the industry to begin marketing comics for an older audience as opposed to children. They reference Dark Knight Returns, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, the Vertigo line, so forth and so on. It might not be, I think the opposite right now is true.
Yeah.
because right now some people there is a stigmata when it comes.
I can name a really dark time in comics.
Go
ahead.
We'll get to it, but I think the opposite right now. But there is that stigmata that when you say you read comics or you're into comic collecting, it's so you read Batman or you read Spider-Man or you read the Avengers.
Yeah.
Well, there are other comics other than that. There's the whole anime manga line. There is you have The Walking Dead.
Right.
You have Why the Last Man. You have Transmet, which is a classic run. You have Sandman. You have these darker, more adult storylines.
Right.
But the opposite is now. I want to say it's not. It's still probably going on. It's a dark age, but there's still that stigmata of there's still kiddies books.
Yeah. I think one thing in the 90s that really did it was, if you remember the squad books, like everybody had a squad.
Yeah, the JLA, the JSA, the JEA.
Oh, no. Then you get into the Image bullshit. You had Brigade, Wildcats. What was the one? Blood Wetworks. You had, what was the other one? They're all, there's just everybody. Youngblood, everything. It was an X-Men ripoff. It was a JS or JLA ripoff. Every time you looked around, it was like people with armor and giant guns. Just like that shit was a dark time. There was nothing. All of that shit then was it was the same.
Just garbage. Some of it was lackluster.
Just
garbage and
piles of garbage.
We're going to make this ultimate superhero that can never be defeated. Next issue, he dies and comes back. And next issue after that, what's going to happen? He's going to die and come back.
The only thing significant that ever came out of that era, which I thought was an original idea, but it was at the same time was Savage Dragon. I thought that was a good book. You remember the Savage Dragon? I thought that was all right.
Mm-hmm.
But it was stupid in its own right. But it was one of the only memorable characters. That and Spawn was really one of the two.
They bring up a reference to the Dark Age. It says again, why would nostalgia and increased interest from adults with some expendable income hurt the industry that relies entirely on sales? Which leads to our number 13, which is the speculators.
Okay. Dear God, what are speculators?
You have nowadays because of the movies, you're moving with the Dark Age. Oh, I remember Iron Man and Thor and the Fantastic Four. Maybe I should rebuy some of those new issues and see what's going on with the Fantastic Four or with Wolverine right now.
Right.
But you have the speculators, which are these are what we were mentioning, or at least I was talking about earlier, the quote unquote investors who have to buy. This new. I think this what's going to happen in Thor next month is going to be real good. So they run down to their comic shop, and they got to buy all 15 copies of that issue.
Right.
Because it's going to be, or the current aspect of Rebirth. All this, Batman and Watchmen crossover. Who's it going to be? Let's buy every issue.
That's really dangerous for the speculators. More power to them, but I personally,
But
I don't see where what they're speculating. Granted, they're probably smarter than me, but
no, just that what they say in the article is that with all of them.
Well, it was like the Death of Superman book,
right? You had all these speculators, and it says that instead of letting speculators clean out the shelves and selling out the product, the industry just published more and more copies.
Right.
Stores were ordering numerous copies to appease the speculators, and no one ever really knew what was going to be hot.
Yeah.
And
so in other words, companies are like, we got a hot book, make more.
And in essence, what you were talking about sports cars, they just kept making and making and making and making.
Yeah.
And the speculators were kept buying and buying and buying and buying. Mm-hmm. And it kind of is what wrecking the industry. Could it be working again now? Because you have the aspect of, this is selling out, let's what some people have said,
third
it tends to hurt the hobby is because you have in an industry where you can make more.
Yeah.
When it comes to a particular comic, we can make more. We can make a new issue.
Right.
We can make another print run.
Well,
so
the problem is if they're going to reprint, again, make it collectible, make it desirable, make it worthy of buying. That's the problem. The problem is not in that case overproduction, because if you leave your production runs the same, but you make another production run of the same book just with a perk or an added bonus, okay, then that's different. But they're not doing that. They're just running it with a different cover, or
And which leaves us to number 12 is the new number ones. They close off number 13 is shops and publishers a 50-cent bin does not pay the bills. Shops and publishers alike started shutting down as they had bitten off more than they could chew. What exactly were the publishers doing that brought in droves upon droves of speculators? A number of things, one which led us to number 12, the new number ones. Because that was, even when I started to get back into comics, I always heard, or started to become a comic collector and a comic book geek, if it's a number one, it's going to be a value. It turns out to be a load of bullshit, but you saw it in a lot of 80s and 90s. The section that the article has, it says, one of the single biggest things to kick off the rise of the speculators market was the massive explosion of the new first issues. When we say there was a massive explosion, we're not talking about a volcano or hand grenade. We're talking a full-on nuclear warhead. From the 80s to the 90s, a large number of titles started fresh with brand new number one. There were also a lot of new publishers hitting the scene, like Image, Malibu, Valiant. All these companies were dropping their first issues. The speculators all assumed these first issues, quote unquote, would attract the same prices as the original first issues from past decades. The speculators bought up as many copies of an issue one that they could, and then kept them in pristine condition. The problem here is that those classic first issues of bygone decades were rolled up, stuffed in pockets, mom threw them out, and simply didn't survive. A first appearance of Spider-Man fetched a high price because it was rare, and interest in comics had been reinvigorated. What the speculators did was flood the collector's market with more mint-condition first issues than anyone could want. And that's kind of lies with that.
Yeah.
Is that nowadays more and more people are collecting, and they're slabbing things, they're keeping things in pristine. And I think even you stated at one point when it comes to something like a Valiant comic where you have all these issues still out there, and you have people like, this issue's got to be worth like $50. No, it's worth $5 or $2. Well, why not? Because one, everybody has that issue.
Yeah.
Number
So
two, you
here's
can
my
burn
question.
out 85% of them. It'll still only be worth about $5.
Exactly. And here's my question. I don't know if they do it, but with sports cards, graded cards have what's called a population report. And when you look it up online, it'll say, when you look it up online, it'll say low pop, high pop. And what it is it's how many of them out there are slabbed in that current grade. Like, say it's like a 7.5 or 7.4. It'll tell you exactly how many, because they know how many they've done, how many 7.4s are out there right now. Okay, so like a 7.4, there's like 252 7.4s out there. A 9.8, there's 485. Well, there's a lower population report of 7.4s than there is of like 9s. Are people not grading worse copies, or are there just so many 9.8s that it's
right?
You're just going to drive down everything underneath of it is going to be worse shit.
That's one of the things. I don't think we'll get to it probably in a moment, but on the list is that
if you have 1,000 9.8s of a book,
it's also it'll go into number 10.
It's going to drive. It's going to drive the price just ridiculously down.
Number 11 is shake-ups to the status quo, and their article says another way to get the speculators to buy several copies of one title is to make sure that a big deal with a shake-up to the status quo. The status quo are those big-name characters that have largely gone untouched for decades. Spider-Man might be the biggest example of this. In the 90s, the clone of Peter Parker. And not to mention you had the Death of Superman is another. Where this could affect us nowadays, like we, in our last Hostful, we talked about the one artist that was putting anti-Semitic stuff in the artwork. And that is not so much a shake-up like what they're talking about in this article, but it's still a shake-up. Or how Spider-Woman is positioned on the cover, or the fact that Wonder Woman's armor is a slight micrometer too short, or when is
So in other words, like outside factors,
right, is now the shake-up,
right,
and therefore more people might go out and try to buy that before it's recalled and brought up.
What was the one? There was one a couple of years ago. It was like a Superman or was it a Batman and Robin? One where there was a panel where like somebody makes like a racist remark or something.
Something like that. I think, I remember that.
And the book just skyrocketed.
Before it was pulled and reprinted.
Yeah, it got pulled and reprinted, and like those copies that made it out were just like astronomical.
Right, and
that's not adding value per se. It's one of those outside influences. It's like
it's a new form of status quo.
It's like my favorite baseball card ever.
Or it's a new shake-up to the
It's
status
like
quo.
my favorite baseball card ever. The Billy Ripken fuckface card. Have you?
No.
You've never heard of this?
No.
I have to show you it to you. So, you know how baseball players are. They're jokesters.
Right.
Well, if you've ever had been to a baseball game or like played baseball, you have your bat. It's your bat because different players hit different ways. Different players have different lengths on their bats, different widths on just because
one player might want
a shorter bat, or one player might do better with a longer bat because of how they hold it or whatever. So your bat goes in the bat rack and they put your name on it. A lot of times they put a nickname. Well, Billy Ripken, his name happened to be, I guess, Fuckface, and they had it written on the bottom of the bat. So he goes to the ball field that day to do the sports card pictures, and he's smiling. He's got his bat over his shoulder there, he's looking, and the photographer takes a picture, does not notice the bottom of his bat, clearly in black Sharpie, says Fuckface. That card gets mass-produced until someone catches it. Oh, dear God. So there's like a couple different versions. There's the ones that made it out, which I have. There is the blacked out bar version. There's the whited out bar version. There's I think there's even a yellow dot version. Where many ways that they cut them up, many different ways that they got rid of that. But either way, Fuckface made it out into the general public, and before they corrected the error, and the card is quite desirable. I have a graded copy of one. I think it's graded an 8. But it's the Billy Ripken Fuckface card, and I can see things like that. Like if somebody
nowadays it's the new shake-up.
Yeah, if somebody would, like that one guy that would hide anti-Semitic things in the artwork, or if somebody got away with putting some some graffiti on a wall or something that was like controversial,
or Frank. I think I mentioned one particular hostful. Frank showed doing a cover of a particular superhero, doing a female superhero, doing a kind of a Marilyn Monroe type pose, and you have that uproar, like how dare you draw her like this? And they
but nothing to do with the storyline, nothing to do with the character per se.
And before a lot of people have to go buy that before it's pulled and changed, and which leads us to number 10, variants.
Okay.
Because back in the 90s, you had the foil variants, the holograph variants, the foil holograph variants,
now,
the variant of the variant of the variant.
I don't have a problem with those
I think they
as
nowadays,
a whole, I think they're neat when they're done right.
I think nowadays they've cut back to that
because there was
not back.
Yeah,
back in the '90s, it was like every
right.
But
see
gimmick. It was like variant on top of variant, top of variant, top of variant.
With
now
comic
it's
book
very limited.
With comic book collectors, variants are looked down upon. Like those type of covers, the gimmick covers, are looked way down upon. I think that there's room for those, and there should be, because the technology's come along so well that, like, I think DC did it a little while ago where they did like 3D covers. I don't know if you've ever seen them.
Might have,
but they were phenomenal. Like, the execution was perfect. Like the 3D on the cover, like how they did it was like flawless. And I think they only did it with like the bad characters. I know there was one for like a Black Adam cover. One was a Demon cover. I can't remember the other two. But it's just the way that they were done. I thought they were flawless. The stories, I have no idea. I didn't read them. But I remember seeing the covers. I thought they were great.
Yeah, their number 10 for it is in reference to variants is, how do you get people that are already willing to buy 3 copies of the first issue of Sam Keith's The Max, which was a very good show on MTV back in the day.
It was interesting.
The book I liked it.
The book was weird.
To buy even more copies of the first issue of The Max, that's easy. You offer the same issue with different covers, and each cover has a smaller number of copies available. You give them a black and white cover and a glow-in-the-dark cover in addition to the standard cover. Now you just sold 9 issues of the same book. Once again, if you sell 9 of the same thing, isn't that good for business? It is, but publishers did that with every title before they even knew it would sell. While the Max turned enough heads that MTV produced an animated series, there were countless other titles that didn't catch anyone's eye. Your store just sold 300 copies of the Max number 1, but you're also sitting on 300 copies of each 6 different titles that no one else was interested in.
Yeah.
But they go into the aspect of number 9, which was the foil covers. It says, the person who wrote this says, I still get a little excited when I see those shiny hollow foil covers. And the hollow foil cover is similar to the variant cover, but slightly different. In many cases, the hollow foil cover was a clear indicator that you were holding a variant cover. It was also very trendy at the time. Things hit a point where a comic might have one cover, but that cover just so happened to be hollow foil. I remember X-Men had that with just one cover. It just had a hollow foil dead center.
Yeah.
It was just a gimmick on top of a gimmick. It just, some books had several different hollow foil variants. This was a clear indicator of how gimmicky, cheap, and excessive things had become. We don't see that nowadays.
No.
I think with the advent of, I think personally, even though they're a great idea, as you said, the blank covers, which is great for conventions because you can get that sketch cover, which when I started diving into collecting comics, again, it was I got bad information. Granted, it was but
was it Don West?
Probably.
Oh God, you ever watch Don West videos?
No. But
the one of him swimming in baseball cards is probably my favorite one.
I remember getting 7,000 cards. But the aspect of I also got from QVC the signed Hank Aaron baseball, but a lot of I was given bad info.
Some of the stuff he had on there wasn't too bad.
But the aspect of it is just that when I was told, you can never get a sketch at a convention, it's very rare. Now it's almost like $20 I'll give you a sketch.
Yeah. A lot, some
or some, that's about average.
Yeah.
Some maybe higher, some maybe
some
lower.
Surprise you. You go for an autograph and you do a sketch and they do an autograph.
Right. It depends on the artist and if they.
Darwin Cook, which I still can't believe I got a Darwin Cook autograph. I walked up to him. He didn't charge anything. He signed my book and did a sketch on the front.
Yeah.
I was like,
There's been many times because I bring a sketchbook with me to cons, just for autographs.
Eric Powell.
Yeah.
Eric Powell's the same way. He always does an autograph and a little sketch. Of Goon or Buzzard or who else? He did a weird one on mine. I did one of the zombies on mine one.
And I think I want to say Donna Rosa, but I think it's Don Rosa.
Don Rosa, yeah.
He does primarily Disney stuff, and he did like Scrooge McDuck for me. But it's when I bring the sketchbook, it's like I'm not. Some of them are really polite. Like I'm not really doing sketches right now. I'm not really asking for a sketch. I'm just it's a catch-all, and a lot of them are great. And there's when I went to the Richmond Comic-Con, Virginia Comic-Con. It's down in Virginia. It's very small. It's they've gotten bigger over the years, but when I went in 2009, a lot of guys that were like, I'm not really doing sketches, did a little quick sketch.
Right.
Like one of I think you've seen the page. One was like a G.I. Joe. Snake Eyes following, his rival from Cobra. And it was like a Pac-Man theme. And another one did a little Necronomicon type sketch.
Yeah.
And all of it was cheesy fun. Yeah. And it was someone else did a Kilroy.
Right. Well, it's always fun.
And you did something unique.
But I'd rather have something like that than just have them sit there and like painstakingly against their will, forced because I gave them $20, do some half-ass sketch.
But then again, I've gotten some great free sketches at the Marvel booth when I was going to a Wizard, and for charity, some artists do stuff for Hero Initiative or the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund, and I've gotten that Thor sketch, that Green Lantern Thor sketch is awesome.
So I don't remember.
But number 8 is artists were rock stars. This is a time where Todd McFarlane and Rob Liefeld and Jim Lee.
Jeans.
Yeah, they actually mentioned that in the little section of Rob Liefeld doing the buttonfly commercials.
I'll never forget that because I was like so into comics then. I was just like, oh my god, it's Rob Liefeld on TV.
But
you're happy for him, but then you're like, what?
Todd McFarlane is still kind of a big name.
He is.
So's Jim Lee. Rob Liefeld, not so much.
Yeah.
He's one of the most, other than him being one of the most hated people.
Does he still work?
I think so.
Because I'm not. That's not a slight on him. I haven't really collected books in a while, so I don't know. I'm not into the industry anymore. I just don't know if he does.
The number 7 going from that is shocking story gimmicks. Like they give an example.
Oh, Superman
gay. Died.
Everyone's gay.
Now it's like the whole switch up. Now, Captain American's now with Hydra. Oh, how dare they? Or so and so is gay.
Yeah.
You have a different set of story gimmicks.
The Hulk is transgender.
This is the best way to see.
It'd be better if it was brainless Hulk too, because it'd be like, "Yeah, I'm a woman."
Now this is what I'm going to see.
Anything you say,
see who actually listens this far to the show. Watch, I'm going to get an email from Sasha.
Me, I'm woman.
But,
me, identify as
Superman died. A iconic American staple had been killed with the death of is handled in comics. It seemed like this wouldn't be a big deal. It wasn't, but at the time it felt huge. We'll talk about next segment.
Right.
Story gimmicks like this came commonplace. When these stories happened, they would span across several books. Now we have 52 and Rebirth and Civil Wars 2.
Everyone's
they don't mention, but it's like now how do you turn that 9 to 36? You buy 9 run, but it's 36. You release 4 different books for the same character. Or if you want the whole story, you need to read all 4 that month as opposed to just one main title. Again, you're still seeing that. The House of M, Civil War, Rebirth, 52. You have you can't just read Batman.
Right.
You want to find out what's happening with Batman in the story, you got to read The Flash. You got to read Wonder Woman. You got to read Cyborg. You got to read Teen Titans and this and that. And so you got to buy every book.
How about this? How about every 2 months or 3 months, you guys just put out a goddamn graphic novel? I'd pay the $10. Mm-hmm. I would. That I didn't have to collect 50,000 books. I'd pay $12.95.
Which leads us to number 6: unappreciated media attention. And with yes, back in the day, we only had like CBS or the nighttime news or whatever local news saying, "Oh, so, Superman's now dead." And literally, they might be bringing him back in the next,
It's how they framed it too. Though.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be like thousands of people mourn the loss of a beloved superhero. No, what would they say? Hundreds of geeks are crying in their Wheaties.
And they said, "Well, Superman." And you had non-collectors and the speculators go running down to their local shop to pick up the whatever variant was in the store. And we have one shop, and quote unquote antique shop,
right,
that's starting to sell the back issues. They have a variant, the black cover variant, plastic bag variant of Superman for over $300. But if you look it up on one of the popular sites that do prices,
right,
that's a $75 in-bag book at a $98.
Right.
$75. The one that is $300 is the platinum version,
platinum,
which would probably, instead of having the white Superman symbol on the cover,
right,
with a black background, it's a platinum Superman symbol on the black background.
Right.
That one at a 7.8 is not a 7.8, a 9.8 is $300.
Yeah.
Which, again, going back to the CGC, it can't be in the plastic bag. Everything's got to be out, but everything's got to be with it.
Right.
And that's what the price comes in. But it's stupid. But how this applies today is that we have not just national news, we have YouTube.
Right. Well,
So
and the difference is then, what I was getting at was, if they interviewed people in line at the death of Superman, I remember this fondly because I was into it at the time. So they would interview a bunch of kids and a bunch of the basement dwelling nerds, and no one else. There was nobody cool as a representative of the hobby. So it kind of, the people that woulda, coulda, shoulda been into the stuff then, and there would have been a boom then, were like, get away.
Because nowadays, being a geek is trendy, is stylish.
Yeah. And it's like geek chic.
And nowadays, back in the day, you had the people that were truly geeky and part of it.
People are still very much, and that's the thing, the people that have been with it and are still very much around have been sidelined. Like, seriously, we're not welcome. People who are overly into stuff and geeky and fucking nerdy and the traditional geeky nerdy comic book people, they don't want you. They will sideline you.
And the thing is, and I think you might agree with me, it's like the punk aspect of today. Is there punk music still today? Yes. But we're it's not so much watered down, but the hardcore fans that are probably still out there are the snobby fans. Like, what the hell's going on now? Yeah. And because it's still, we see the Hot Topics, the places that are selling the plastics. Like, wait a minute, now we have to revamp everything, and we're kind of looking like the khaki, grungy type of deal because we got to revamp it 5 different times, because as soon as we revamp it, somebody comes along and is like, oh, we got to remarket it, put it in Hot Topic and revamp it, and it's stylish now. Everybody's got to wear a choker now. What? Fuck you.
Apparently, all the guys are wearing rompers now. Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
Oh, what the
fuck? But now with YouTube, you have a lot of people where you didn't have that. You might have had the fire in reference to Superman Dies or the change up. Now you have a rampant 4-alarm fire because you have YouTubers commentating.
Oh, yeah.
You have more people spreading the word about it.
Oh, yeah.
You have podcasts like us spreading the word about it.
Yep.
You have not just mainstream media. You have the little guys, the channels on YouTube with 5 million followers, 10 million viewers. Each episode has 1 million, 2 million, 3 million views on it, all covering roughly the same, giving their views and so forth and so on. Yeah. So you might have more people running out to get that issue that everybody's hating on,
right?
Which is kind of re-pumping up, making history repeat itself. Which leads us to number 5, too many publishers.
Oh, yeah.
Now we had a revamp of too many publishers.
Too many hands in the pot.
Malibu went to the wayside. Valiant went to the wayside.
Atlas.
Now Valiant's making a comeback. You have other publishers coming into things.
First, what was that?
I think it was first. It was some company that was
That was
doing Lone Ranger and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they were doing like X-Files and stuff
Even
like that.
Topps got into it for a while.
Right.
I thought that was hilarious that Topps got into it.
Which is kind of sad that it's resurgent. Which kind of the publishers coming back, more publishers coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Valiant now, not Valiant, Variant,
Yeah.
the Vertigo. Vertigo is now under the DC title.
Right.
But with all these other companies making a comeback and trying to fill that need again, because you have more of a, again, being a geeky stylish, more people want more varied storylines.
Right.
So, therefore, you have also, now that's coming up next as number 2. But to go to number 4 is the trading cards. Because back in the 90s, you had the X-Men, the DC, the
Marvel masterpieces
and all that. You don't see that nowadays with the comic industry getting trading cards.
I mean, they do. There's been some very popular lines.
But now it's more so.
Currently there's been some very popular lines. The Captain America 75th anniversary cards that were exclusive to Upper Deck E-Pack. Those, they turned out really well, and there's physical copies of them too.
Right.
Like you buy them online, you can trade them online. I ended up getting one of the sketch prints, which was awful, and then you could trade them to other people, but then you could actually get them sent to you.
Right.
And I have some physical copies of them. They're actually real nice. Those are serial numbered. That's another reason why. And the new from Marvel.
They're not as widely out there as
they're not, but they're highly collectible now.
Right.
Because they figured out how to do serial numbering.
And they figured out the aspect of, instead of flooding the market, it's cutting it back a little bit. And
E-Pack. See, I think that's an evolution, the next evolution in things. How, everything's, all retail, I still say this and people scoff at me, but look at all the stores closing this year. All retail is going online. Most retail is going online. Because there's really no need for brick and mortar anymore when you can get it so fast to your house. Amazon is they're going to take over everything.
And which kind of leads us to number 3.
Okay.
Action figures.
Okay.
They're still a big deal. But when you have Target having their quote-unquote exclusives, pop vinyls.
Pop vinyls are probably the most collected thing now.
And Walmart's having their exclusive. What the sad part about pop vinyls, a lot of people have said that their balloon is about to pop soon. Their bubble's about to pop.
Because there's too many.
Because there's too many. You have Walmart exclusives. Target, again, even with action figures, you have Target exclusives.
Literally, there is one for every character out there, it seems like.
And not
even
to mention,
obscure shit, too. Yeah, especially variants.
There's pop vinyl variants. There's even action figure. We spoke about this, too.
Yeah.
When you go out, there's literally, I'm part of several groups that they do nothing but go to Target, Walmart, CVS. They hunt the variants of the variants of the variants.
Yeah.
And they go to, not only that, they want to collect, I think you might have done this once or twice in the past, the Marvel variants where they have not just it's Cyclops, but they have the arm of Juggernaut.
Right.
Or
because you're going to put together a larger character.
Right.
You know what really hurts, though, with that stuff, especially with retail? It's how retail reorders. So, say those collectors come in, and the only thing that they want are the variants. Okay? They grab the variants on day one, or somebody who works there grabs the variants on day one. The rest of the characters might sell, might not. It depends on how strong the characters are. Okay, it's real cool that Marvel decided to put out a Tiger Shark character because what a weird character to put out because it's not very well known. Okay, that's cool for about 5 people who may or may not end up buying the character.
Or the aspect of...
but some kid's not going to know who fucking Tiger Shark is because he wasn't in the movie. So it sits on the shelf.
Yeah. Not to mention you have... as
and
we said,
they never get
figures,
reordered.
You might have a... let's use that
Same thing with
because
Hot
the movie
Wheels.
is, as a... this recording is coming out, but will be dropped when we post it, Wonder Woman.
Right.
They put out a line of DC action figures. If they figure Wonder Woman is going to be very popular, they've done it with other, like Star Wars action figures, 1 per box.
Right.
1 per box.
Yeah.
And if it's a popular figure,
Yeah.
and all the collectors are gunning for that one, what about that one kid that wants a Wonder Woman action figure?
Right.
And especially if you every 5th box has a variant of that Wonder Woman.
Right.
So you have a rarity already and a rarity of a rarity.
And then the store is stuck with the regular ones, and they don't reorder anymore because
Right.
they can't sell what's on the shelf.
Because that's how even Kevin Smith in his Smodcast has said, when you order a box like that through even through the direct market catalog,
Yeah.
you're getting that box that might have a bunch of commons and 1 variant.
Yeah.
1 super variant and 2 rare variants.
Yeah. And you know what you need? What they would if they
And
were
there's no way to pre-order just that one.
If
That's
they
going to
were
sell.
smart, they would make you buy all the regular ones and send in a proof of purchase.
Kind of like they did back in the day with
G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joes and the Star Wars back in the day.
G.I. Joe did that, and Star Wars did that back in the day, and that's how you got your Sergeant Slaughter and Slaughter Tank. Or you got your what was the custom G.I. Joe figure, which those things.
So they could do.
They could absolutely.
It's not as big as deal now, but it can be.
That's how Toy Biz tanked their own fucking industry. Toy Biz had the best Marvel Universe characters on, like, hands down. Those things in the late or the early 2000s were so fucking collectible. Like, I saw them going for hundreds of dollars in package at conventions, right? When Hasbro bought them out, the price tanked. Like, all the prices, they're not even collectible anymore because what they did, they were doing the whole variant thing. But see, they were so nice when they were from Toy Biz that people bought even the cruddy characters because they were collectible. The new ones, not so much. They suck. They're like cheap. They're smaller. They're weird looking, and they're overpriced, way overpriced. But nobody's buying the shitty ones because of how much they cost, and also because nobody knows who they are. And so now you get, like, I remember 50 copies of Jean Grey, the same Jean Grey, on the shelf for 2 years when I worked at Target. And I would go, why aren't we ordering any more of these? Oh, because they haven't sold yet. Solution: put a thing in each one. If you buy each one in the series, you send in the thing with proof of purchase, variant figure.
And the next one, number 2, is everyone gets a comic.
Yeah.
They're not talking about Free Comic Book Day. They're talking about in reference to, like, Bill and Ted, Ren and Stimpy, The Simpsons,
Yeah.
Alf, Care Bear, so forth and so on. You kind of see that a little bit today, but not as much. But
You see that with other merchandise. Everyone gets a pop vinyl.
Everybody, not so much that.
Everyone gets a baseball
Could
card.
Free Comic Book Day be a part of that as well, though?
No.
Nowadays,
No.
you come in, you get a comic.
No,
I'm trying to be devil's advocate here.
well, yeah, but free comic book day is different. I see what they're saying with that is
With this is back in the
it was
day,
a marketing gimmick,
right?
Because
to sell the movie.
because comic books were huge. Take what's huge now. What's huge now? Fidget spinners. At some point, they're going to have celebrity fidget spinners or something to that liking. I mean, it's like with the pop vinyl shit. Everybody has a fucking pop vinyl. You name a character on a TV show, I guarantee there's a pop vinyl for it.
Or it's coming out.
Or,
There's
yeah.
Big Bang Theory pop vinyls. There's
Everything has a pop vinyl figure.
and Walking Dead has pop vinyl. Figure.
Every character, even the characters that are like background characters, have fucking pop vinyl figures on that show. I think that's what they're going for with that. So yeah, I think whatever's popular at the time gets a comic. Everyone gets a comic, and that will bring down the market because they're not collectible.
Yeah, and that started in the early days because I remember
movie adaptations.
That's been around since the early '80s. I remember there was a kind of a goofy comedy cop thing. I think it was like Hammer.
Yeah.
They had a comic for a while.
Max Headroom probably had a comic.
Right. And the number one, and we'll probably be ending the show here, is no internet.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
Because there was no real easy way to kind of resource things. Now I think it could apply.
You had to talk to people. What?
Now it's that we have too much access to that. We know the what's happening with the comic industry. Mm-hmm. Oh, this particular issue is going to get banned and redone. We got to rush on it, and it could signify the aspect of the bubble bursting again, because again, like that shop here in town, I could easily look at my phone like, this is not worth anything. Why do I have to buy it?
Well, okay.
You're selling.
Remember you had to read like either comic book shop news or Wizard,
right,
to find out information about comic books or comic book industry or variants or whatever. If something was popular, remember, like they had a section in there that was like
artists that are popular of the week. Or
here's my question: why isn't Wizard still being published?
Because they stopped publishing because it was cost too much in reference to putting out issues.
But what's hilarious? Do they have an online presence? Because I don't know.
Wizard their only online presence is for their conventions.
See, this is what's weird to me. They were around before it all, and before everything blew up, and in the midst of like even the dark times. But that's when they were the most prosperous. How does a book like Wizard, which was like the number one industry leading comic book news and resource guide, go under when that shit is more popular now than it has been in like 20 years?
Because they said, we're not our magazine's not that profitable anymore. Nobody wants to read it. It's more of an online presence. Yet I think Comic Book Price Guide puts out an issue like a couple of times a year.
Yeah. I just remember seeing it getting skinnier and skinnier and skinnier and less content and no price guide.
There was more content than a price guide.
Right.
There used to be maybe
half the book was a price guide.
Out of a maybe 60-page magazine.
Yeah.
20 pages were articles.
Yeah.
And adverts.
Well, I mean,
and the rest was pretty much a price guide.
How it fell off, though, I don't understand. Like, I don't want to go too deep into this, I guess, but how it fell off, I don't understand. Like, you had sections in there, like stuff that I loved, like how like contest of the month and stuff, like draw this. Like they would do like a thing like where they would give you an idea, and you would draw it and you would send it in, and like then the next month they would have all the people that drew the thing, and like somebody would win, you win some cool shit. Character like bios, like you could learn weird stuff about characters from
like the top, and they also have the top 10 issues of
the
month, and you have the top 10 artists,
and
top
you
10
have the
writers.
articles from like the art, and see, there's no spotlight anymore, and that's what it's kind of separated me. And
you don't even have comic book price guide anymore.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know about you, but me personally, it's separated me from the industry. Like I know who the artists and I know who the people are. Okay, I get it, but when I could read about them, when I could see interviews with them, when I could hear them give their opinions, their top tens, their, what they liked and what they were currently up to and what they were going to be working on, that stuff's important to me. How can a company like Wizard go by the wayside?
Because they were probably making more money with the conventions, which now they're saying some of them are not really making that money as it is.
They're not making
because they swamped themselves with the conventions, and they should have at least, like you said, at least kept up. Because Wizard, dare I say, was the Playboy of the Geek world, the comic world. Because
you even got a centerfold every month.
I'm not saying that they had a centerfold.
You did though.
But
there was a poster in each one. And the swag. You would get swag in each one. Ash can editions, a trading card, a collectible coin.
Let me put it like this.
Stickers.
There's a magazine, I think, out now, or still being published, called Otaku. It was
yeah.
It was basically for anime fans.
Right.
The magazine, it was. I liked it and I hated it because it was they forced you to read like an atypical manga, which is backwards to how we normally read.
Right.
But in order to read the article, you had to go flip. Meaning, when you looked at it, the table of contents was at what would be the back part of the book. But if you wanted to read that article,
you had to flip to the front.
You had to, in essence, flip it 4 pages and start reading that article normally.
Right.
Which pissed me off. It's like, okay, how am I supposed to read this? It tells me it starts on page 5, but I have to go to page 10 to start reading this article.
Right.
But it would give you a centerfold. It would give you a little bit of a manga inside of it, and it will give you a DVD of several sample shows.
Right.
We want you to read these shows, watch these shows. Now they don't do that anymore. It's just maybe a trade.
Right.
But still, it's a trade.
And I know that the publishing industry has gone down. I get it. I know that the publishing industry has gone kind of belly up in the last 10 years. I just, if stuff like Fangoria can hang on. And
I think what is it? Starlog still is out too.
Famous Monsters is still around. They've been around since the 60s. There is an interest for people to read. I don't understand when you have an industry based on reading and collecting. How in the hell? And I know I got way off base with this, but I'm just like, how in the hell can something like Wizard, which I guess I'm mad because I regarded it as a great publication.
And the thing is,
interesting great, covers every month.
What I liked is, granted, yes, we could go online to get a price guide.
Right.
What we had was with Wizard a great trade information.
It was in real time,
and it was that you had a stack of. I could easily, if I went to a place that didn't have cell service nowadays,
right.
If you're applying to today's aspect, cell service, I can't immediately look up a price on like a flea market,
you still have to or else you're just basing it on eBay,
or because somebody wants to base a jacked up eBay price.
Exactly.
I could pull out my copy of Wizard, flip through the price guide, and see. Well, yes, that's a comparable price within what Wizard says.
Because it was what it was it was an industry average. That's how they do them. They basically they say, okay,
but it was still
Four Colors is charging this much, sold this much,
but it was still a valuable resource. Now you don't have that,
nothing,
and you don't have that access, even though we have cell phones.
Right.
But what again? My question is to everybody: it's like, what if you're in an area that doesn't have that, and you need that information? You don't have that hard copy information like you once did. Well, I think that's part of what you're saying.
Yeah,
too.
Absolutely. And you don't have. It's all the little things. You don't have the fan stuff. And I get it. I don't know if maybe the readership dropped off at some point and it became too expensive. I don't know what the factors are. I just don't see how something like that can fail without somebody behind it willingly forcing it to fail.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I think something like Wizard would be an absolute necessary resource now.
I think they might have a combination of they watered themselves down too much because you had Wizard, you had Toy Fair, you had.
Well, that's true too. Toy Fair was huge,
but you had like 15 variants of a particular magazine.
Right.
Yes, it's warranted in reference to toys and non-sports cards and so forth and so on.
Right.
But they kind of watered themselves down.
Yeah.
And they made themselves probably irrelevant.
Yeah.
Now it might be time for somewhat of a comeback.
Right.
But I don't think
with the publications the way they are, I don't think they would try it. But I don't know. I totally see it as a valuable resource still if they would be around, but I don't understand it.
And on that note, we're going to end our show. If you have a difference of opinion, you can always email us at longcoatmafia@gmail.com.
Yeah, you bunch of bitches.
For those of you who listen, that might be a different rant on and off channel one day.
A one-off.
A one-off. might put that strictly on the YouTube channel. My depression in regards to my show. But we also have a Facebook page that you can contact us and follow us. It is facebook.com/The Long Coat Mafia Podcast. Our Twitter handle is Long Coat Mafia. Our Instagram, you can, as always, follow us there and see what we're posting up. It is also Long Coat Mafia. As always, you can find us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts on your mobile device. And if you don't prefer Apple and prefer an Android device, you can always find us on Google Play Music. But if you prefer neither of those, or if you want to look at our back catalog of all our episodes and see what we did, you can always find us at thelongcoatmafia.podbean.com and download and or stream all our episodes there, as well as Stitcher.com. So catch us, interact, and share everything because you do help our show grow and survive.
I thought you were going to say, catch me outside. How about that?
Catch me outside. How about that? Hashtag him. Hashtag my burns old face.
So y'all don't like the show, you can catch me outside. How about that?
How about that? Hashtag Matt Burns. And we are...
See you next time on the Long Coat Mafia.